What's up, guys? We are live. So we got a great, epic, wonderful, majestic pickup panel for you today. We got Markus Wolf from Ultimate Man Project. We got Andy from Kill Your Inner Loser. And we got one of the OGs of the OG game, which is Ross Jeffries. And also, we're going to have another person join in about 10 minutes. It's also another OG. And I'll leave that as a surprise for you guys. Well, actually, I put him in the title, so it doesn't matter. It's Squad Casanova. But yeah, this is going to be, we're going to focus on game, pickup, self-development. We're not going to cover any drama shit or stuff like that. It's going to be purely focused on pickup and things related to pickup. I asked you guys yesterday to post your questions to community post, so we're going to start off with that. But if you guys have any questions, make sure you get them in the live chat. Don't wait until the end because then probably we won't be able to get to it. All right. So with that out of the way, here, you know what? Let me let everyone introduce themselves for anyone who might not be familiar with one of you. Let's start off with you, Ross.
Everyone knows me. I'm the living legend. The guru of Getting Some, the Prince of Poon, the Ayatollah of Moist Pink Cola, Ross Jeffries. I'm the founder and creator of the seduction community. I don't know if that's something to brag about or to be ashamed of. And believe it or not, I am 65 years old. But thanks to my doctors at Biomed Health Center who are giving me cutting edge, state-of-the-art tech treatments. I'm 65 years old, but instead of getting dementia, I'm getting 20-year-olds. So thank you, Dr. Anna, Dr. Garrick, and Dr. Sarah.
Nice. Okay. And also, you were in the book The Game, and you were the one that taught Neil Strauss, right?
I did teach Neil, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, Markus.
What's up, guys? Markus Wolf from Ultimate Man Project. You've probably seen me on the channel before. 33 years old. My doctors probably tell me I'm 40. But yeah, glad to be here.
Okay. Andy.
Hello, I'm Andy from Kill Your Inner Loser. I've also been here. I'm 37. But I just had a big, long conversation with my girlfriend because I thought I was 38. I've been spending the last year literally thinking I was 38, and she had to explain to me how maths work. I know that sounds fucking retarded. I thought she was a year older than she was too. So you don't know how many conversations I've had with my clients where I'm like, yeah, I'm 38 and I'm still meeting women. No, big fraud. I'm only 37. So
that is a big difference, man. That is a pretty serious thing to lie about.
No. Okay, you're joking, dude. No, dude, literally in my coaching program this morning, a guy was saying, like, I'm about to turn 31 and I'm worried that when I turn 31, it'll be too late for me. And I'm like, what changes between 30 and 31? So, like, numbers are just arbitrary, but people get, like, really freaking, like, hung up on it. So I'm so glad we got Ross here to tell us that.
Ross's actual, I guess, opener ties perfectly into the first question. Why do so many former PUAs go through same epiphany and end up denying and looking down their PUA past? Interesting question. I don't think everyone goes through it, but some do. So what are your thoughts on that? Just go in any order. It doesn't matter.
I'm not denying and looking down on my past at all. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. So I've been doing this. I did my first seminar in 92, believe it or not. So I think some of you weren't even born. I don't know. And during that time, as I've grown and grown and grown, I'm still creating, I'm still innovating. Now, of course, you can only talk to me on the AI unless you want to shell out $30K for a weekend. But I am thrilled to say that hundreds of thousands of guys, their lives have literally been saved and their lives have been changed. There's children in the world and families created. That when the day comes that they click out my lights, I can say, hey, I created a whole culture. How many people can say they created a culture, not just a job, and that they've saved tens of thousands of lives? And one more quick thing, and then I'm done tooting my horn. I have a friend who started out as a fan of mine who trains people in law enforcement and the intelligence communities. And he looked me straight in the eye and said, your work has saved thousands of American lives. So I know they're using some of it, he wouldn't tell me what, in interrogations. So I'm very proud of my background and I'm very proud of what I've accomplished.
Ross, do you have any friends, for example, who were pickup artists or PUAs and then they started looking down their PUA past?
None of my current friends are pickup artists. I'm not friends with anyone in that community.
Gotcha. All right, Markus?
Yeah, so I'm not sure who the post is referring to.
He's not referring to anyone specifically. It's just a general. I do agree with him that there are some for sure that have the PUA journey and then they kind of scoff at it. It's like, oh.
Fair. I mean, I agree with Ross here. Like, for me, this is what got me here. This like game. I say it sometimes. It was my therapy, right? I was a guy that wasn't very confident. I wasn't good with women. I wasn't good in social situations, to be honest, to begin with. So for me, this was essentially my therapy to become what I consider like a better person. So I'd never looked down on it. I can imagine some guys might, like some coaches might do that, or guys that got into game might do that. If either A, they were following like a bad heuristic, or they were following like a bad coaching method, where they might just think, I'm just trying to sleep with girls as quick as possible. I'm just trying to have some one night stands. That's all I want. They do that for a few months. It becomes unfulfilling. And then they're like, oh, fuck it. That was weird. Or perhaps they're using techniques that they considered a little bit cringy or ineffective. And then they might look back on that. Or you might have guys that just pivot in a marketing sense and are like, all right, I'm kind of sick of pickup. So let's shit on that and let's do some like other type of coaching, right? Now, pickup was horrible, but now I'm going to teach you this magical method that works. So that may be why. But for me,
Someone brought up a good example in the chat. Derek Moore plays more dates. He initially started off as a pickup, and now I feel like he doesn't explicitly say pickup is lame, but he kind of like by the vibe, it feels like he's not proud of that.
Mark Manson is another big one too.
I don't know much about him in particular, but I imagine it's one of those three. Either what he was doing was really cringy, and he's like, fuck, I can't believe I was running around like clucking like a chicken in the club because I thought it was cool. Or it could be a marketing thing where now he's moved on to bodybuilding, whatever he's doing. I'm not sure exactly. But his audience might not like the fact that he was doing some weird, cringy red pill or RSD shit. So you needed an outside if you're doing it.
Yeah, I do agree. It can be marketing. I think also another reason could be incongruency. If you were, for example, you thought like key part of pickup was to sleep with as many girls as possible, but you deep down inside you want a relationship, or you were following like really flashy game, which was just something that was incongruent to you. I think incongruency can probably cause that. What do you think, Andy?
I like the saying, your future self is talking shit about you right now. I think there's a little element of that going on. It's like we're all constantly on this, like in this journey to improve ourselves, to be better men or women, whatever that might mean. And so we often do, this is just like a human thing. You look back at your past self and you're like, man, what was I thinking? You were doing the best you could at the time with what you had at the time, but we learn, we grow, we evolve and all of that. So there's a little bit of that going on. And then I think on top of that, I'm someone that can kind of relate to this question because yes, at the start of it, I was just trying to stick my penis in a vagina at all costs. And I almost didn't care what I had to do that. I will say I wasn't super conscientious of what some of the women were feeling or thinking or any of that. I was just like, I want to get my dick in a pussy. I'm going to say whatever I need to say. And I went through sort of a transition where I stopped trying to just get, and I started thinking, how do I give a little bit more? So it might be a little element of that. Maybe at the start, you're just trying to get yours, and then you start evolving and thinking about other people. You become a coach. You start trying to help people. Like Ross said, you know, you talked very passionately there, my friend, about like giving to other people and changing lives and all of that. I think for some of us like myself who didn't start out like that, we were just trying to get. I think when we realize the difference there between getting and giving, then maybe we look back and not that we regret it, but we're like, okay, there's a different way. I don't just have to be this like steamroller that's going to get pussy at any cost and not really care what happens.
Yeah, I think another part of it could actually be like not vibing with the current community. So like when someone starts to like,
yeah, man,
10 years ago, 15 years ago, the community was different. So you just like look at the bad examples from the community and you're like, fuck, this is what I'm part of. Like not really appreciating the good elements of it. I think that could be another reason. This is an interesting question. How much has online dating apps, social media actually changed PUA in general? I think there's no better person to answer that than Ross. So I'll start with you.
My answer is going to be different, I think, than anyone else's answer, and not your everyday Ashley XOXO. Okay. So I don't do dating apps or social media. First of all, I don't have the time, but more importantly, I can't use my charisma, my voice, my energy, anything on those platforms. But here's the more interesting answer I had. For me, the currency of seduction, pickup, is the same as the currency of any kind of influence and persuasion. I view seduction as just a subset of influence and persuasion. The currency of all of those is focus. If you can't get someone focused on you, if you can't get that woman focused on you and then invested in the conversation, you're not going to get anywhere. And because of social media and dating apps, people now have the attention span and the focus of a goldfish. When YouTube first started coming on into vogue, into play, the ads were 90 seconds long. Can you imagine watching a 90-second long ad on YouTube nowadays? But you were happy to do it back then. So my answer is, in general, across the board, across contexts, dating apps and social media as a side effect have caused a lack of focus that's hurting all aspects of society, including pickup. That's my answer.
All right, Marcus? You're muted, my friend.
You're muted. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, so obviously I think we've seen a bit of a shift. It's a very low barrier to entry to jump on online dating, or even like social media to some extent, and try to get girls off there, as opposed to going out and actually doing the PUA thing. Is actually going out and trying to meet girls. So I think we've seen a lot of guys shift over to that. And what they've noticed, for the average guy, girls are very picky online. They've got a huge amount of variance of who they can choose. And so now it becomes a little bit more looks focused. And guys, even though they get access to all these girls, I think it's a lot worse to go out on online dating and just get rejected by 1,000 girls than it would be to go out in a night and get rejected by like 2 girls over time. I think a lot of guys become very butthurt over it. I think that's where we see a lot of the red pill shit. We see a lot of the attention girls get on social media, and there's a lot of guys that think that is every single girl. When you actually go out to the club, most girls' social medias have like 1,000 followers, right? They're not these 1 million getting flown out to Dubai girls. So I think there's been a huge shift to like the red pill space and to a lot of this cope. But from like a very PUA point of view, like our community, I'd say, it's been a great tool, right? You can now diversify a little bit. You can try message some girls on Tinder. You can get experience through that way. You can set up some dates. It can actually help out your cold approach as well. It's just another tool to be able to like meet women and get good at essentially game, which is getting good with women. So yeah, I think so. 2 things: there's been a shift over to this like red pill space, but also it's helped guys to be able to get better with women.
Yeah, I think the red pill overestimates like what girls actually do in terms of social media. Like they think that like every girl's got like a pop in social media where she's posting thirst traps. But like most girls' Instagrams are like either 100 followers or set to private or something like that. Yeah. That's been my experience. Like 70-80% probably would fall in that category. What do you think, Andy?
I like what Markus said, man. My motto with all like my coaching clients and my audience is do whatever you want. Like if you want to use online dating and that's working for you and you're having fun with that, brilliant. Have a good go at that. Have fun with that. That's how I've met the vast majority of women that I've ever slept with, has been through online dating. But I say to so many of my coaching clients exactly what Markus said. I've seen so many of them that get what I call like Tinder burnout or online dating burnout, where they start getting frustrated. They're like, I'm getting no matches, or the matches that do match with me just don't reply to me. I'll send a message, they never reply. And to all those guys, it's almost like, Ross, it's almost like I have to tell them that people like you exist. And I'm like, you know that you can go outside and talk to women. Like there are women outside. There's 4 billion women outside. And most of them aren't on dating apps. They might mess around a little bit on dating apps and Tinder and Instagram and all that shit. But like the vast majority of people are outside. Go outside and talk to them. And then it's almost like a whole world that there's almost like a renaissance. It's coming back in vogue now. Going outside and talking to women is fun and sexy and cool again. I think we went through a little period. And Ross, I'd love to hear from you about this, man, because this is your thing. Did pickup is this just my impression, or did pickup like die between sometime like 2000 to like, I don't know, somewhere around there? I feel like it went really underground.
I don't think that's the case. I think what happened is certain people came along. Eric Mystery came along and had his school, and then RST came along. It just morphed and shifted and metastasized into something different.
Also, I think a lot of people are doing pickup without actually identifying as pickup artists. Like there's a lot of like channels that have like 1 million subscribers or followers, and they're doing the same shit. They're approaching girls. Their game might not be as like technically good. But they don't even know what the fuck a pickup artist is.
They call it social. Yeah. Like Big Doors TV is one. There's a whole bunch of these channels.
Yeah.
That was epic. Yeah. They just go and talk to women.
Yeah, that was
That's
epic.
how I call it. Yeah, I call it the same thing. Like even with my guys, I don't call it pickup. Like it is that, but I call it just talking to girls. So yeah, I think
I think there's like a
stuff.
spectrum. Like on the one hand, you have what Black Pillar say, which has totally changed the game completely. Things are so different. Stuff from 20 years ago won't work now at all. On the other hand, you have like the opinion that, well, it hasn't really changed anything. I'm probably closer a little bit more to the hasn't changed anything. I think for when it comes to like actually the date or even middle of the interaction or closing, all that stuff is still the same. That part hasn't changed at all. And good game from 20 years ago is still a good game. I do think the way to meet girls has shifted a bit. I mean, 15 years ago, there's no like real dating apps, or at least they weren't. Yeah, no, there was like OkCupid, but there's not really dating apps. So yeah, some girls are meeting guys on dating apps, and actually a good amount of girls. But yeah, you can just easily adapt to that by getting good photos and stuff like that. I think also a lot of people struggle with because like when Tinder came out in 2013, it was pretty easy. Like 2013 to 2016 was the golden era of Tinder in America, where you could have a shitty profile and get matches. And now it's become much more competitive. So guys are frustrated because like, oh, the same photos I had 10 years ago were working really well. Now they're not working at all. And guys just fail to adapt. But you can totally pick up girls without having like an Instagram, for example. But I would say a good Instagram can definitely help. And the better the Instagram, the more it can help. But again, it's not a necessity. It's just an additional benefit. All right, this is an interesting question. What are key things you have a student focus on who was a complete beginner, and what if the student was already advanced? I think this is a much better question for you guys because I don't really do any boot camps. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I can start off if you like. So if someone's a complete noob, the biggest thing I'm going to focus on is just mindset and subcoms, right? There's no need to worry. Like, I feel like the more you go into all these other concepts and a full structure and what exactly to say and all this shit, it actually just adds a lot more pressure. And it starts to feel like, oh, we're not just like talking to girls, and you lose the common sense. Like sometimes guys forget what is actually just attractive to women. We all instinctually know that a lot of the time. But you give them all this theory and you dive into all this. Now it's like, oh, I didn't false time constrain here. I didn't lean up on the wall here. I didn't. And it's like, no, you just were like looking down and shaking no. Like that's why. It's a pretty simple explanation here. So I think to begin with, the first thing is have positive mindsets. So you need to work on that. You actually need to be attracted to women. You actually have to like them as people, right? You have to want to know them. Yeah, exactly. And then like dealing with rejection. So understanding your own self-talk and self-esteem. And then just good subcoms, right? Speaking loud, holding eye contact. It's a really good place to start. But then obviously as you become more advanced, there's a lot of other things we can start working on. We can start to think, what are the nuances of attraction here? What are the nuances of the girl's archetype? Like how should we treat girl A compared to girl B? Maybe girl A is very friendly, nice, and likes a little bit of validation. And girl B is a little bit of a brat and you need to put her in a place. So yeah, that's essentially how I treat students in terms of the level of beginning or advanced.
What do you think, Ross?
I'll take a shot at this. So what a lot of people don't know about me is I've spent the last 35 years studying healing. I don't just think of myself as a seduction artist or a business person. I'm a healer. And I can tell you from my personal experience, since I've been in this for a long time, I've had thousands, literally, of guys come through my seminar doors and are doing private coaching. As I said, they talk to the AI now, but about 40% of them are seriously traumatized. They're either acutely traumatized by being beaten or watching domestic violence or sexual abuse or all number of things. They're seriously traumatized people. Or they're chronically traumatized because loneliness, if you're 40 years old and you've never been touched by a woman or never known what an intimate connection is, that's traumatic. And so those subsection of people who walk through the door, they need some serious healing. Mindset is correct, absolutely correct. And that is correct 100%. And it's a little, I would say it's a little incomplete because with some people, they need some serious healing work. I'm not a therapist. If someone has a personality disorder or acute trauma, I'm going to send them out to somebody else. But I think the people who are very critical of pickup and think we're all sexists and pigs and exploiters need to understand there's a tremendous amount. First of all, fuck yeah, all the people who think that. I don't really care what you think. But people who are on the fence and who are open to having their minds change, I would just remind you a great chunk of men are really, really deeply traumatized, and they need healing. And so working on the mindset, absolutely. I would just add on, in addition to that, I've got some good material on healing. And that's just my only contribution. I think we need to acknowledge the men who come into this and who want to change their lives as being heroic. As far as if the student's already advanced, my definition of advanced is going to differ from people in other schools. To me, someone who's advanced understands that the primary principle for at least my work is not behavior. It's not trying to get a phone number or going in for the kiss or getting the lay. It's thinking, what state of mind do I want to create in that woman? How can I get her to look at me through a state of connection and arousal so it's natural for her to want to give me those behaviors? So that's what I would teach an advanced student.
Gotcha. Yo, what's up, Mike? You want to introduce yourself real quick for anyone who's not familiar?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Mike, Pickup Outfit. So I've been a dating coach based in Vegas since 2013. Most of my work is infield, so I take guys pretty standard boot camps, take them out to the Vegas clubs. I usually work with more of the Asians, Indians, guys with STEM or analytical background, and really into lifting, traveling, fitness. Kind of a nerd myself. That's my background.
Mike, just to clarify, do you no longer go by Squatting Casanova as like the brand?
Well, that was my YouTube channel. Is banned, so sucks.
Yeah.
So my website's pickubalpha.com now. So I think it's a little bit more. I think Squat and Casanova is a good name, but it's gone. So
Yeah, it's like a player who just takes a lot of shits. You know, he's got some diarrhea.
I thought he said, when you first told me, I thought you meant sharding Casanova. I thought, what the fuck? Sharding Casanova.
No,
By the way,
I'm doing Squat, man.
Mike, do you want to take a stab at this question? What are the key things you have a student focus on who's a complete beginner, and what if the student was already advanced?
Sure. I think everybody what's a beginner, right? Some people have different things they need to work on. I don't think there's a one size fits all. There are guys that are complete beginners where, you know, they're fully functioning. They know how to talk. They just don't know the mechanics. So in that case, you just give them the structure and they can take off with it, right? Sometimes you get a guy that, you know, lives with their parents. They don't really have survival skills. They don't really have the real world knowledge. Then it's about like putting themselves out there. Some people have sort of, I wouldn't say learning disabilities, but like they don't understand pattern recognition, right? I do see a lot of guys where they do the same thing over and over again. That is, it's almost like there's two camps, right? There's guys that are riddled with approach anxiety where they can't function. And then there's guys that aren't taking in feedback. I've noticed that for beginners, right? It's like they're running the same thing and they're not auto-correcting, right?
Yeah.
Or they just like don't do anything at all. So,
yeah. No, I agree about like the lack of autocorrecting. I've actually, my assistant, I took him out to do some cold approach, and he had this thing where he would say, "Who are you?" when he approached a girl, and like he would always get weird reactions. Like she'd be like, "Who are you?" And then I was like, "Dude, you gotta stop saying 'Who are you?' Just say, 'What are you up to?' or 'How's your day going?'" But then he kept doing it, and eventually, instead of saying it once, he started saying like 3 times per interaction. I'm like, "Dude, you're literally doing the opposite of what I'm saying." But I think he's gotten better at that.
This is for day game?
This was for day game, yeah.
Yeah. I generally try to avoid asking a lot of questions right in the beginning because when you approach a stranger, the first 2 questions they're thinking is, who the fuck are you and what do you want? Right. So it's just weird that if you're initiating the conversation that you ask them, who are you? That doesn't make any sense. Right. So it's actually better to go up to a girl and then kind of describe your day. Right. I usually tell my guys during day game, like, okay, like tell them you're visiting from X, Y, and Z. You got friends in Vegas, what you did earlier this week. And then the girl will be like, okay, this guy's not crazy. He's got friends. He's doing things. But yeah, asking a girl, who are you? Doesn't really.
Yeah, of course. I do realize this.
I live here.
You just can't help it sometimes.
Also,
Andy, go ahead.
You shouldn't ask a girl a question that you already know. You know what I mean? Like you already know. Like if you meet a girl at a mall, like you kind of already know what their deal is, right? Like they're shopping. So asking a girl at the mall like what she's doing is kind of stupid. It's like redundant, right? You could just assume that and jump right into a cold read. So
I would be
I'm hunting.
I would be extremely cautious about asking any question that leads to a fact-based answer. And let me unpack that if I can take a minute. So again, my approach is very, very different. My approach is, how can I activate the imagination of that woman? How can I get her to feel a flow of feelings in her body? How can I activate her fantasy mechanisms? So just as a simple example, let's say we're in a conversation, we have a little rapport. Every guy always asks the stupid question, what do you like to do for fun? That's lame for multiple reasons. Number one, every guy asks it. So you're just identifying yourself as an average frustrated chum. But on a deeper, more subtle level, what's less than optimum about that question, it gets a fact-based answer. Well, I like to go skiing. And then you're ping-ponging back and forth. But I teach my students, once they've got rapport, not like straight out of their mouth, but once they've got rapport, to ask, instead of what do you like to do for fun, to ask, when you want to do something that makes you feel totally alive and get your heart beating hard and time flies by, what do you love to do? Or what's something you've always dreamed of doing but haven't let yourself dare?
Is the goal to get them to think of sex when you ask that question?
Not necessarily, but I want to activate the part of her mind that imagines things, that feels feelings, that fantasizes. To me, it's not about getting facts. It's about creating states of mind, creating states of consciousness, evoking responses from the fantasy mechanism. That's why, with all due respect, I don't want to talk about my day. I don't want to ask normal questions and or anything like that. I want to capture and lead the imagination, the emotions, and the focus as quickly as I can. And I don't believe that asking typical questions or talking about your day is the most efficient way to go about it. I'm not saying you can't do it. I think there's more efficient ways to do it. I mean, throughout this sharing here, you're going to find me adding on to other people's answers or maybe challenging or pushing back. It's not done out of disrespect. Anyone who is here helping guys has got my respect, and I consider that we're a band of brothers, but I do have a pretty radically crazy, batshit crazy different way of doing things. So I just want to preface it to everyone on the panel. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone if I
no worries. But if I go in my safe space, you have to stop. I have a safe space on the couch.
Okay.
Just respect my safe space.
Well,
And
I've had a reputation in the past for being an asshole, and it wasn't incorrect, but I've changed that.
I got you. You're good, man. Andy, what are your thoughts on this?
So I just want to straight up say, first of all, my safe word is red cucumbers. So if I say that, Ross, I'd like you to take it easy on me. So I do want to kind of point out here, I think it's fucking amazing that when it comes to talking to women, having sex, relationships, all that kind of stuff, so many different things work. And I really love that what works brilliantly for one man might be completely different from some other person. And maybe there's some optimal, perfect, top tier way of doing things, but everything below that, or a lot of things below that, work as well. So I want to kind of bridge the gap there between those two different viewpoints. Second thing I'll say is I kind of want to piggyback off Ross's answer before, where he talked about trauma and kind of almost getting in there and showing these guys, it's okay that you have all this trauma. It's okay that you're a 30, 40-year-old virgin and you think that women are going to bite your head off, or you think they're terrifying. You think that rejection is going to destroy you. I like to meet people where they are with their fears and kind of go in there a little bit and say, like, what bad thing happens if this woman rejects you? What are you so terrified? And sort of get them to see that everything will be okay, even if they walk up to that first woman and she says, I'm not interested, or fuck off, which, by the way, basically no women ever say if you're relatively polite. But even if she does reject you, everything will be okay. And I find no matter how much I try and tell someone that is not the same as him actually going up to a woman, shooting his shot, and she's relatively nice and everything goes okay and he's a little bit scared, but he's fine. And so I do a lot of that healing and trauma work that Ross talked about. But then I find I kind of have to pair that with, look, mate, at some point, you're going to have to go and say hello to a woman and actually get started. So I like to do a little bit of both. It sounds like, Ross, yeah, you're giving me the signal that you do the same. As for the second thing that I'll focus on with a beginner is like, why are you doing this? Like if you come to me and say, I want to learn to talk to women, I'm like, cool, why? And I find, just like Ross said, there is almost always some sort of trauma or story or narrative or belief they have about themselves, about who they are and then who they want to be. And there's often a big gap, or there's always a big gap between that. They see themselves as maybe a loser or not good enough or unworthy or something. And they see this like magical, mythical figure that they want to be in the future, of this guy that can talk to any woman and get the girl and have all the money and all of that. And I like to focus on that and why you want to do it and who you want to be, and then run towards that. So let's get really clear about why you're doing this. And for a lot of guys, they'll come to me and say, I want to have a whole bunch of sex. And I'm like, great, why? And then when we actually get a little deeper, it turns out that they don't really care about that. It's that they want to prove themselves worthy. They want to prove that they're lovable, or they want to prove that those 40 years spent as a virgin, it wasn't because they were pathetic and a loser and disgusting and society hates them and they're a fucking incel and all of this kind of shit. It was just because they didn't know how to talk to women, or they didn't try and talk to women. So I love to go in there and figure out the why and see why they're doing this, and then give them that little bit of permission or that little bit of push to go and actually talk to their first woman. As for the second part of this question, like what do you do with someone who's advanced? Well, they're advanced. They already fucking know what they're doing, right? I just keep encouraging them and push them. And I say, why are you doing this? Get very clear about what you're doing. And then try a whole bunch of different things and see what works for you. Because if someone's advanced, at that point, I'm starting to think, how can they do a better job than me? Like, how can they take what I might teach them and maybe what Russ might teach them and Mike and Alex and Marcus and run with that and come up with their own style, what they like to do, blah, 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 and figure out who they want to be. So yeah, the advanced guys, I'm basically like, yo, spread your wings and fucking fly. Don't be a copy of me. I don't want you to be. I want you to be better than me or different from me. Like, take my material. And Ross, I'm sure you feel like this, brother. Take my shit and expand upon it. Otherwise, you haven't fucking tried. What was the point of me doing all this stuff and giving all of this if you don't then expand upon it and make it yours or make it better?
Yeah, I'll give like a very quick answer. My style of coaching is to look for patterns of mistakes that people are making. And then once I found those, address that. So, for example, if it's texting, I'll have them send me like 3 or 4 interactions where they thought they did everything right, but it went wrong. And I look for patterns. In the rare case that I do help someone out with cold approach, I'll just observe them. I'll have them, I'll mic them up and have them like recorded on their phone, like even without the video. And I'll just listen to 2 or 3 of their approaches. And then once I find patterns of things they're doing wrong, is I basically tell them how not to do that. I think that the difference is an advanced guy will have less patterns of things he's doing wrong. His inner game would be better. But yeah, I mean, if there's nothing that I can point to that the guy's doing wrong, which is rarely the case, then I'm not the coach for them. I think that the one thing that would be differently is for a beginner, I would set the challenge level really low. So I wouldn't have them do like mixed sets or whatever. I'd have them just approach a girl who's like slowly walking or something like that. So I would keep the challenge level as low as possible so that they don't get rejected more than necessary. So I like basically they have more favorable chance of succeeding so they can build up their confidence and then slowly start increasing the challenge level. Yeah, so here's actually good.
I like what you said about recognizing patterns. I agree. And this is, I don't know how he did it. My business partner in the AI thing, how he managed to do it, but he has trained it. So I've seen the prompts. We have he understands all this. I can actually read the prompts that people are putting into it. And they'll put in, I use this text, blah, blah, blah. And the AI will say, here's what you did incorrectly. Here's the way to do it. And here's the pattern that I see repeated. After several, it'll go through different iterations. And after a while, it'll say, I noticed this general pattern. Here's how you need to correct. And here, so the brilliant thing is, that's what makes for a great coach, that we all do pattern recognition. And how he trained it, Dustin, if you're watching, shout out to you, man. The AI is blowing my mind. I want it to make me obsolete. Because after 30 years getting the same questions, I want to jump off a building, dudes.
Here's a really good question that I think a lot of people don't have an answer to. Like, not you guys, I mean like people in the chat. What are key ways to address inner game and mindset issue in a student? I think we can all agree that you can teach someone like really good external game, but if their inner mindset is bad, they think of themselves as a loser, they're probably not going to succeed or not succeed a lot. So what do you guys think is the best way to address? Like, let's take someone who has low self-esteem, or someone who thinks they're a loser, or someone who thinks that they're not attractive. How do you guys address that when you're coaching him?
I got to take this because I've been doing this for. If I can,
I'm just gonna grab. Yeah, go for it.
I'm just going to toot my horn. I'm an extremely good hypnotist. A lot of people don't believe in hypnosis. That's fine. I'm telling you, I would take them through. I would spend about 90 minutes, 2 hours with them, and just rewire their unconscious mind. Now, that's not something very many people can do, and I couldn't do it for 20 years into my career as good as I can do it now. But I would, if I could get them face to face, or on Zoom, I would give them 2 hours of hypnosis, and virtually anyone except someone who's got a personality disorder, or if they're retarded. We're not supposed to use that word, but retarded.
You can say whatever you want on my channel. There's no
retarded. If they're retarded, then I can't help them. But that's what I would do. I would just zap them into deep trance and rewire them. And that's one thing the AI can't do. So not yet.
You know, I used to think hypnosis was bullshit, and then I did it, and now I'm a big believer in it. I always recommend it.
What was your experience, real quick? I don't want to monopolize this, but
no, you're good. So my issue wasn't game related though. At this point, I already had good game. I had like general anxiety where my mind would. I was constantly worried because I had so many health issues when I was younger, like a year or two before that. I was constantly worried I was going to get sick, and it was just running circle. And so basically, he worked to change my self image from someone who has chronic health issues to someone who's recovering from health issues. It's nothing really juicy. It's just more like personal stuff like that.
You got to take full credit to you, man. You got to take care of yourself, and you're a young man. Trust me, dementia would be creeping up on me. If I'm just going to say it again, I owe my life to my doctors. They keep me alive. So once again, Biomed Health Center in La Jolla, thank you. I love you all. You literally, I got to a point with chronic fatigue. I'll just tell you, no one knows this. Where about 5 years ago, I could get out of bed at like 3 p.m. and work for 2 hours, and I had to go back to sleep. And we'll talk off the air what they did for me, but they fixed that. And my mind is as sharp as it was when I was in my 30s. So yeah, taking care of yourself in that way, you have my deep respect, whatever you got to do.
Thanks, man. Mike, Andy, you guys want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I'll go first. I do think that it is hard to work on inner game by itself in a vacuum. I do feel like there's some guys, if they just don't approach and they're just like, I'm going to focus purely on inner game, I do find that challenging. For most guys, if you're lacking a little bit on the confidence side, having some success, having some outer game work will fix that to some extent. But usually if they have major issues, I usually just defer them to like ayahuasca or Tony Robbins or Atlas Project. I mean, I'm a dating coach. My bread and butter is like infields, text game. I honestly think there are better people out there for pure inner game work. I went to Peru for 2 weeks of ayahuasca. It was some of the most mind-blowing shit. Wow. You know, I was in the middle of the Amazon jungle doing frog poison and hugging the shaman. It was pretty crazy for an Asian dude who thinks like an engineer, who never was, who was never hugged as a kid. Yeah, I
want you on my podcast. I want you on my podcast. That is such an interesting story. I want you on my sales and influence podcast.
Yeah, sure. Love to come aboard.
Yeah, I'll keep you guys in touch.
But also just like changing your own environments, right? I think a lot of guys are, they just need a fresh reboot. They need to move to a different city, hang out with new peers, get some roommates that are more positive. I think it's just, you are what you surround yourself with, right? So if you're, I get a lot of Asian and Indian guys. If you're just with your parents, that's always, condescending, or they don't believe in you. You just got to get out of that house.
I'll give my answer real quick before I forget. So the way I approach it is different than the way some people approach it, and there's more than one way. So I think Ross's strategy through hypnosis is focusing on inner change, focusing on inner work to get inner change. My process is more focusing on external things to get inner change. So basically, when someone, for example, thinks they're ugly, you have to have you can't just tell them they're not ugly. You can't even have other girls tell them they're not ugly. They have to prove it to themselves, or they have to prove it to their subconscious. So one way I'll start out is like, let's say the guy's like like a bald, fat Indian. I'll find a balder and fatter Indian who I know who's doing better. I'd be like, look at this guy. You're better looking than him. Look how many matches he's getting. Or maybe he's not getting that many matches, but look at the girl he banged. So that's one step. And then the other step, of course, which is much more important, is having him get positive reference experiences. So like, hey, go out and do these approaches, and then give them feedback so the reactions are like not too terrible. And then like, look, like this girl was like fucking licking her lips. She's into you. And sometimes you have to actually show them the video, because in their mind, like it could be a pretty good conversation where everything went relatively well, but in their mind, because they have such low self-esteem, they think of it as a really bad disaster. And sometimes you just telling them it wasn't good is not enough. You have to actually show them, look at this video. Do you see what this girl's doing right here? This is positive. And then that, I think, is probably been my approach to changing people. But I'll admit it's definitely not the only approach. It's just the one.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Sharp. That's really sharp, because if you don't do that, they're going to see their potential and their progress through the pain of their past. That pain is almost like metaphorically, it's like a filter through which they
it's
see.
like a lens, and sometimes that lens is super
lens. I had a student who, I don't even remember, this is back in 1995. He used some of my courses or whatever, and he went into a club. I don't teach club game, as you call it, but he used it, was making out with the hottest woman there, thought he'd play it cool. This is way back before social media. And he got her cell phone number, got her card. And he figured he's going to play it cool. He's going to wait 3 days and be a challenge. On the third day, he went to find the card. It wasn't there. So he tears his place apart. And then he figures, shit, it's dumpster night. He goes dumpster diving for 2 hours in all these giant dumpsters, wading through dirty diapers and cat shit and rotting food. After 2 hours, he comes up, no card. And he gets in touch with me and says, Ross, I've been depressed for 6 weeks. My old self came back. Why can't I win with women? Why do I always lose? Now, to me, as a hypnotist, he had to hallucinate away everything he did right. All the things he did to have the confidence to go talk to the hottest woman in the club, what he said to her, how he knew when to get physical with her, all of that stuff. He forgot all about it because he was seeing his progress and his potential through the pain of his past. So I'm totally with you. That's a brilliant technique to externalize it, to let them see on film so they're not looking at it through their own filters. That's a brilliant technique. Milton Erickson, the famous hypnotherapist, used that as one of his strategies with his clients who were really stuck. So great, 100%. I'm with you there. Great job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I think that the cool thing, here's what I think the cool thing is you can actually, it is totally possible to change your self-image or your inner self. I used to, when I was about 18, 19, when I was still a virgin, even 20, 21, I used to think I was a massive loser. I just thought there was something about me that made me like not attract to women. I didn't never really blame my looks, but I thought there was something inside of me, like maybe my personality. And then now I no longer believe that at all. So it is totally possible to change your inner self. I think everyone on this panel probably has gone through something somewhat similar where they used to think less of themselves than they do now. But I think the other extreme that you want to avoid is having like a big ego, because then you're not going to be open to improvement further. So you want to have high self-esteem without actually having a big ego. But yeah, Marcus, Andy, what do you think about this?
Yeah, man, I agree with that ego point. I think this is where, I mean, when we're talking about mindsets, I'm often thinking about in the aspect of game, self-esteem, sex shame or getting good with women. I agree with squatting that if you have someone that is coming to you, which is like, I have body dysmorphia, I'm not going to sit down and be like, great, let's work on your body dysmorphia issues. Like that's something for a therapist. But if someone comes up and says, hey, I'm so scared to speak to a girl because I'm just so fearful of getting rejected, then that's a really common mindset that we can work on. And so I agree with a lot of your points, Alex, where number one, usually it's ego driven. Usually these guys are self-identifying so hard with the external response of the girl that of course it's fearful, because essentially what's going through their head, if you ask them, is what does this actually mean to you? And if you go through that questioning process, basically what they're saying is every single time I go out, if I go up and speak to a girl and she rejects me, that means I'm not good enough as a person. That means I suck with women, I'm horrible, and it's all these I ego statements. So really you need to detach from that a little bit. It's not actually you that is getting rejected in a sense. It's just these very limited behaviors that you're showing the girl. So I could go up and sometimes I demonstrate this. And I was like, okay, look, this is me. Now watch me go up on a bad day with bad subcoms and go try open this girl. And I'll be like, hey, hi, I thought you were cute. And the girl just ignores me and walks off. Right. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go up. And I'm like, hey,
Marcus rips the mask off. He's like, yo, what a bitch.
Yeah, what a bitch. Who the fuck are you, right? And so what I'm trying to prove here is it's just my behaviors, right? This is not me. The girl doesn't know me. She hasn't spent like 6 months to a year with me. And then she's like, I fucking hate you. You're a piece of shit. It's literally like 30 seconds of just the subcoms that you're showing. So learning to detach from that a little bit and just be very objective and say, okay, so she doesn't like this approach. What about that approach, as Alex was mentioning earlier, is incorrect here? Okay, so maybe you were stuttering. Maybe you were not making eye contact. Maybe you were a little bit soft. And so now you can detach from that a little bit. It's almost like you're playing an avatar. You can go up and say, okay, let's try these subcoms. Let's try this approach. And then over time, she can get to understand who you are. And then it becomes you. Then you become a little bit ego-driven around that. But at first, I think detaching from that's really important. And getting the results for sure. Like it needs to be a two-pronged attack. It needs to be, okay, what are these limiting beliefs? Let's go through them a little bit. Do people actually on the street care about what I'm doing? Is that a mindset that you have? We can talk through that and I can talk about my evidence for that. But at the end of the day, that's only going to help a little bit. You also need to go out there and get your own evidence. You also need to go out there, approach, see someone looking, and then we can go up to that person looking and say, hey, what did you think of that? 10 times out of 10, these people are going to be like, that was pretty ballsy. Even when this happened like in New York, like last week, my student went up, he got rejected after 2 minutes, but there was a guy standing there with his dog just looking. And my other student's like, oh, dude, I think he's watching. And I was like, settle down. I go over, I'm like, hey, what'd you think of that? He's like, man, that girl was so hot. He's like, holy shit. He's like, I mean, this guy was like wanting to follow us around. My student came back, he's like, dude, that was ballsy. He's like, damn, that girl was so hot. So learning to actually get that evidence, I think, is a huge part. So yeah, two-pronged attack, fix the ego stuff. And I think these are really key mindsets that are honestly not that difficult to fix early on in game.
And even, I guess this is a brilliant answer. Brilliant answer. I got to tell you, even prescribe the symptom. So talk about getting your own evidence. I had a student who I couldn't get him to move no matter what I tried. Hypnosis, Schmipnopus, NLP, ZLZ, nothing worked. So I said, fuck it. This guy needs to have experience in being embarrassed. So I made him what I call a devil's pact. I said, if I give you something to do that will fix this problem for the rest of your life, you'll never have it, never worry about it. And it's not illegal, it's not fattening, and it won't get you arrested. Will you do it? He said, yes, I will. So I said, you're going to walk an invisible dog. I said, what? I said, you're going to go to your local Petco and buy a dog leash and a dog collar and walk around in the most populated area of your city. I forget what city it was in. And just go up to people and say, excuse me, would you watch my dog for a minute and let them hold the fucking leash?
I think I just got my next big pickup content idea.
No, it wasn't designed to get him to pick up women. It was designed to attack his shame.
I get it.
And no one assaulted him or anything. And the other exercise I give guys to do is to say, okay, try this 10 times. And I guarantee you'll be more confident with women than the biggest stud. Walk up to a woman and say, listen, I'm working on my shame and my fear of talking to women. So in 30 seconds from now, would you either coldly ignore me or viciously verbally assault me? Wait for it. And I tell them to look at their watch, go. And the women are always so friendly. They laugh and they say, no, I would never do that. I'm not a mean person. You seem like such a friendly guy. And then they start a conversation. But what you said is so smart. It's empirically based, Marcus, is to get people to find their own evidence of what they can and can't do. It's very empirical mindset. So, Jesus, you young whippersnappers are surprising me pleasantly. Good on you.
You know, Marcus, one thing you said that you touched on, I want to draw more attention to. And essentially that when you go up to a girl, you approach her and she rejects you, she's not actually rejecting the real you. She's rejecting her perception of you. And her perception of you is a combination of things. It's her past relationships. It's what you look like and who she associates your type with. So maybe you're kind of a fratty guy and she had a horrible experience with a friend X or whatever. It's based on her mood. It's based on so many factors, right? If a guy, for example, she went on a Tinder date 3 days ago and the guy was like a total dick, he fucked her and then he like just, I don't know, whatever, led her on and shit like that, she's probably going to be less receptive. So that's an important thing. So it's not like you're never really getting rejected yourself, the inner you, when you do cold approach. It's her perception of you. So really, at the end of the day, when you frame it like that, it's like, hey, like, you know, whatever. It's not me that got rejected. It's what she thinks of me. And you can improve on that and you should work on that. But I think that's a good mindset shift that I found has been helpful for me. Andy, what are your thoughts on this?
I love everything everyone said. This is like 95% of my channel is this. Like what you might call mindset work, or self-love is what I call it. Self-esteem, whatever you want to call it. But this is like 95% of what I talk about. I myself was depressed and suicidal from about 14 to 21. I went to prison when I was 20. I know about low self-esteem. I know about wanting to die. I had made a promise to myself that by the time I turned 30, I was going to kill myself. And the only reason it wasn't earlier than that was because I was basically working up the courage to do so. So I work with a lot of guys and basically do therapy. I've worked with plenty of suicidal people and stuff like this. I did a video course, like a mindset course called Play to Win, How I Built a Winner's Mindset. And I made that $1 because I want anyone to be able to buy the damn thing. And I talk about this shit a lot. If I can summarize maybe like 2 or 3 things that I find the most helpful for my clients, it would be, or just for my audience, it would be something like this. Everything is a story and you're in control of the story that you tell. And so many times, you know, Markus and Ross, you hinted at this before. So many times a guy will go up to a girl. She just won't give a phone number because maybe she's not available. Maybe she has a boyfriend. Maybe she saw some guy on Tinder last week and she's not happy. He'll walk away from that and he will tell the story. He doesn't know that he's doing this, but he will tell the story that she rejected me and I'm a loser and it's not fair. And this is, you know, like you said, Ross, this is my past just catching up to me again. I can't escape this. I'm a loser. I'm an insult. I'm never going to meet someone. If I can just get them to see that that's a story or that's a lens that they're looking at this event through, and that they are in control of that story that they tell, and I do that through reframing and stoicism and all of that kind of stuff. If I can get them to tell maybe a neutral story, a story that's completely neutral, you know, I walked up to a woman, I talked to her for 2 minutes, she said no when I asked for a phone number, then I left. That's the actual factual statement of what happened. Nothing else other than that happened. All the rest is extra superfluous crap that you've added on top. If I can just get them to start telling neutral stories, a lot of that pain and that suffering goes away because now they're not feeling like, oh, I got rejected. Oh, she hates me. It's just, no, I talked to a woman for 2 minutes. She said, no, that's it. Move on to the next woman. If I can then get them to go one step above that, which takes quite a bit of practice and quite a bit of patience, to where they start telling positive stories about the things that happen to them. Like you said, I can't remember which one of you, I think it was you, Ross, who said, or maybe you, Markus, you said you had a student who someone was watching and then you went up to that guy that was watching and the guy's like, holy fuck, Markus, this is amazing. Yeah, Markus, if I can get them to start seeing those stories and I can start getting them to say, maybe what I just did is fucking courageous instead of I'm a pathetic loser who can't do this. Maybe having the balls to walk up to a woman that I don't know when I've never done this before is insanely courageous. And yes, I'm scared. Yes, I'm terrified. Yes, I'm not very good at this. Yes, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing and I can't stop staring at my feet and shaking and shivering, but holy fuck, that was amazing. I'm on this pathway to greatness. If I can get them to start telling those positive stories, and that's just practice, that's me telling them that story and then them telling it to themselves. Holy fuck, man, they start to get to this beautiful point where they feel like everything that happens to them is good. And instead of feeling like things are happening to them, like they're the victim, this woman rejected me, it's not fair, life is hurting me, you know, I'm the victim. They start telling a story that life is happening for them. You know, maybe this woman said no to you or rejected you so that you could become stronger. Maybe this woman here didn't sleep with you so you could improve yourself. Maybe this guy over here is judging you so you could learn to deal with other people judging you. And at that point, they start walking through life almost as if every single fucking event that happens to them is a gift and they're not the victim anymore. Now they are the fucking beautiful person who's going through life just going, man, life is a fucking gift. And that takes time. Everything I just said usually doesn't just happen overnight. It usually takes a lot of practice because like Ross said, their past, they've attached very strongly to that. It's not like I just one time say to them, come on, old chap, let's be a little more positive. And they go, oh yeah. Like it takes, you know this, Ross, it takes like things like hypnosis. It takes like what I do, freaking 16 weeks nonstop of therapy.
It takes,
yes, brother.
That's why I teach
Ayahuasca, like Mike said. Yeah.
Ayahuasca, I don't like the idea of shitting myself and vomiting at the same time.
I know that's
more power to you if you love it. But that's why I meditate and teach meditation, because that allows you to see those thoughts arising without buying into them. But I want to talk to you. I've been through the same depression struggles. I actually put myself in the bin for 3 days and was the closest experience I'll ever have to prison. I hope we need to talk off the air as well.
I'll start a group chat after this so you guys can all touch base. Just to really quickly iterate, what you also said was interesting, but I think having like a victim mindset is one of the worst things that could happen to you when it comes to game, business, or pretty much anything else in life. And I find that people who have like a really strong victim mindset are so hard to coach, and sometimes can be almost uncoachable. Like me, I have to send them to someone else. It's just that I just feel like it's literally one of the worst things you can have for like any level of success in life, business, relationships. It's just when you see yourself as like a perpetual victim, it's just horrible in your mind. That's one of those. Another thing that I want to throw out there that I was thinking, I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but in the last few years, I've been seeing this fear from guys. It's that, well, I'm worried about approaching a girl because I can get me too'd. So guys are looking at like the stuff on social media, like the gym approaches, and like, holy shit.
That doesn't happen often.
I don't want to. No, of course, it almost never happens. It's extremely improbable. But guys are worried about it. I had one guy actually. I was talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like, yeah, I do want to practice my pickup, like you said. It just sucks because I have to drive outside my city." I was like, "Why do you have to drive outside your city?" He's like, "Oh, my city is like super leftist. You know, I've had incidents in the past. You know, you can approach and you wind up in jail." I was like, "Where do you live?" He lived in like.
Will you pardon me 1 minute? One thing that happens when you're 65 is you got to pee.
You're good. So he
yeah,
was.
If everybody's getting canceled, then nobody's getting canceled.
Yeah, no. But the thing with him is he first of all, he did not live. He lived in a college town, which is great for approaching. And when I really dug into the details, you know, essentially what his story was, it was he approached some girl and she called him weird. The police weren't involved, nothing was involved. But some guys that will legit have to convince you, like, hey, there's no law against approaching girls. You cannot go to jail for talking to girls. But some guys legitimately believe that they can wind up in police trouble for talking to girls. And I think that's also a bad mindset to have. But yeah, it's you're more likely to get into a car crash or probably even to get struck by lightning than you are to wind up in jail for like talking to you or whatever. Even if you sleep with a girl, false rape allegations, or at least ones that go through the legal system, are very, very like low. Obviously, if you're like a celebrity, the risk becomes higher. But for the average guy, I think the statistic is you're more likely to get hit by lightning than you are to be convicted of a false rape allegation. So that's an interesting stat.
Dude,
Yeah,
I've been to jail.
guys,
I've been to jail. It's not that fucking bad. Calm the fuck down.
A lot of guys will have one or two negative approach experiences. They stop approaching for 5 years and they'll extrapolate their entire dating, how the dating model works based off of two approaches. And also, I want to add two other things. I think having smaller wins super important. How you define what a victory is. Right? Some of these guys will come and it's like, oh, I didn't pull tonight, so it was the worst night ever. But the way I see it is, if you define smaller bite-sized victories, then you're a winner, right? So if you have all these really ridiculous requirements on like what a success is, then you're just reinforcing that you're kind of a loser. Right?
If you didn't have a threesome with 2 tenths, then you failed.
Yeah, for me, when I first started out, I had so many ways of getting success. Like if I put in 10 approaches, I would treat myself to like a burger at the end of the night, and that was like a victory. Or if I got blown out, but I learned something about like Vancouver or a different city or a stereotype about of a job, that was a victory. Or even if I got blown out and I was recording infields at the time, for me, that was also a victory because I could use it for infields and I would still get views. So it almost didn't matter what would happen as long as it was a new experience. I consider that a victory. And also, I think that for inner game, when it comes to pickup in dating, you got to go fast. Like you don't want to dabble. There's nothing worse to your inner game than being just, you know, everything about dating, you know, every single dating coach, you know, every rumor, but you still suck with women. It's like the business professor that still makes 40K a year, right? He knows all the theories about finance, but he's still broke, right? You don't be that guy that knows everything about crypto, but never invested, right? It's
Yeah,
just
I agree. Yeah.
just get into the dating scene, do your shit, get the fuck out. Like, we're all just here as a vehicle for guys to learn. But yeah, there's nothing worse than just, oh yeah, I've been in game for 10 years. Those are, I mean, unless you're a dating coach, but that's not
Um,
something to brag about.
I would disagree on that. Like, I don't think like there's anything wrong with being in the game for 10, 15 years. As long as you're growing and you're improving, you're not where you started off. There are some guys that totally flatline and they maybe go like this and they just stay like this for years. I've known a guy like that.
Yeah.
So
If
that's
you're
not good.
succeeding, obviously, then
If you're improving, yeah, if you're getting better and better, yeah. But yeah, the Me Too thing is like something I've been seeing more and more with clients. It's weird because literally that thought never entered my mind. But I think guys are so worried because they watch these videos on TikTok of some girl at the gym like calling a guy a creep, and there's all these like negative comments, and then they think that stuff happens like all the time, and it doesn't, or at least it's not very unlikely to happen to you. Here's an interesting question. What would you suggest for someone who's been going out for a while, approaching and taking rejection after rejection, then burning out and taking days off as a result? What do you guys think about that?
Were you actually getting rejected, or did you just not get phone numbers? Like, let's define rejection, like we've been talking about with the previous question. Like, is this just a story that you're telling? Are you calling it rejection after rejection? I bet you guys tell me if you agree. I bet you if we followed this guy around, he's probably had like 50% of the women were extremely nice to him, but they just had a boyfriend. 20% of them were like pretty damn into him, but he just didn't pull the trigger or something, blah, blah, blah. Something was off. Maybe fucking 1% of them actually reject him and were like, no, I'm not interested in you personally, just you. Like, I think we got to get clear about how we're defining this. So that's what I would say, first of all. Are you just basically framing this negatively? Now, to give you some actual tangible advice, if you want to take some days off, yeah, go for it. That sounds nice. I took plenty of days off when I was doing this. I'm sure we've all taken time off. Take a bit of fucking time off, chill out, figure out why you're doing this. Get a friend to go with you. So then if a woman does say no to you, your friend is right there, or your wingman, and he goes, hey, buddy, good job. You're so awesome. And you go, yeah, thank you so much. Like Mike said, take some victories from it. Hey, I didn't get any phone numbers, but at least I learned something, or this woman was cool, or I had a great chat, or at least I did my 10 approaches. So, yeah, I'm curious what you guys have to say.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that like taking like a few days off can sometimes be actually beneficial. What I've had happen, like especially when I was kind of intermediate getting into game, is that I would go out for a night. I remember this was actually Halloween Santa Barbara 2014 or 2015, and I just got rejected the whole night. It was Halloween. It's Santa Barbara. I'm like, fuck. And then I just like essentially was like, fuck it, whatever. I'm just gonna chill for the night. And the next girl like that I saw who we were walking together, I just randomly struck up a chat with her, like, yo, what's up? How's your Halloween? Or something about her costume. And then I wound up sleeping with that girl. Sometimes when you like take the pressure off yourself and you're just like, whatever, like I don't give a fuck for the next like few days, that can actually be the game changer for you. What do you guys think?
I think the real answer is embedded in the language that this Larry K is using. See, I've been a long time neurolinguistic programming junkie, and we talked about how language sets the very framework of how you think. So look at his language. What would you suggest for someone who's been going out for a while, approaching? And I just challenge anyone, paste this, copy this, paste it into the AI. It's free for 7 days. You don't have to continue if you don't want to pay. Just paste this into the AI and you will see the answer is 90% the answer I'm going to give right now. I just challenge you to do it for shits and giggles. Watch this. So the whole problem is, first of all, he's using the word approach. What does it imply? If you're approaching someone, what does that say about who has the value? They do. So I teach my students, whether it's on the phone or through the AI, whatever it is, you never approach. You only offer the gift of your masculine presence and extend opportunities to connect with you in fun and powerful ways. So never again, I forbid Larry K to ever use the word approach. You're never again going to approach. You're going to extend opportunities to connect with you. And taking rejection after rejection. There's no such thing as rejection, because you can, will, and do decide the meaning you give and the learnings you extract from each and every interaction with your women. So Larry K, on pain of having your testicles split open and fed to a wild pig, to use grand metaphors that'll never get out of his mind, get rid of that approach, get rid of that word, get rid of the word rejection. And this requires that you radically change how you think about the whole quote game, because you're not approaching, avoid the dating language. How do I get the number? This is all behavior driven rather than how do I create. And I want to draw back to what I think Andy what Andy said something really interesting when he talked about when you walk through the world in a certain way, the way he helps people create, where life is happening for you, not to you, and you no longer tell victim stories. That by itself is attractive before you even open your mouth. You're attractive because that quality is so rare. Women will not be able to put their finger on why they find you attractive. So part of really making that shift is to watch your language. Stop thinking in terms of approaching. Stop thinking in terms of rejecting. You never approach. You only extend the gift of your masculine presence and offer opportunities to connect with you in fun and powerful ways. There's no way that you can stay scared or view it as rejection. The worst that happens if you offer someone a gift and they don't want it is you take it back and you give it to someone who's more deserving. When you make that mindset shift, the rest of this shit is going to disappear by itself. But I challenge you, copy this and paste it into the AI. I can't wait to be obsolete and no longer necessary. And I can go off and live on an island with Swedish twins who are 40 years younger than me.
Well, they have to be 10s, otherwise it's a rejection.
Actually, you know what? 10 is what's a 10 to you may not be a 10 to me. Yeah. Looks are not all they're cracked up to be after a certain age. And I'd rather have a woman who brings me peace, a woman who objectively looks like an 8, who brings me peace, who's on my team, who's relatively emotionally regulated and has made her peace with men and has a life for herself, not a boss babe, but who has a life for herself, than a 10. I
totally agree. I think for real people, guys who have a hard time just like getting laid, they think like a lot of them legitimately think that like that the hotter the girl is, the more successful relationship. So if you get into a relationship with a 9, like that's it. Like, but yeah, like you said, like it's a 9, but she's a massive pain in the ass. She like, no, let's say she lies to you and shit like that, versus a 7 who helps you and treats you well and you have good times with and minimal drama. I think to anyone who's ever actually been in relationships, the 7 would be much more preferable.
No drama, no trauma, and no baby mama. Just stick to that and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Marcus?
Can I piggyback ultra quick off what Ross just said? So like everything Ross just said with focusing on the words and all of that, I have a saying that words are like magic spells and you hypnotize yourself with the language that you use. Like you really do. Another way of phrasing that is if you say that rejection and talking to women and all of that is difficult, then you're correct. If you say that it's easy and it's fun and it's awesome and it's an exciting thing that you get to do, then you're correct. Like how you define this is how you're going to view it and how you're going to feel about it and all of that. So yeah, Ross, like I feel like we're brothers, but like 50 years apart.
Hey,
you're not that old. Like 20 years apart.
20, maybe 20 years apart. We'll talk.
You don't want Mike to get jealous though. Don't.
Mike can be my Asian brother. We can all have a happy little.
Oh, I already have this girl named Christine who's madly in love with me, and so she's trying to get at me, and I'm like, I need to get a restraining order. So Christine, I know you're watching, and sorry, honey, not going to happen.
Well, welcome to the channel, Christine. Subscribe, hit the like button. All right, Marcus, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've got some mixed views here. I think number one, like, if you are implementing everything we spoke about in the last question, so removing the ego a little bit, Mike spoke about seeing the small victories. Andy spoke about creating the right narrative. If you're doing all these things, it's going to reduce the chance of burnout. But I think even then, you might just get burnt out because you're fucking clubbing like 4 or 5 nights a week, right? It's tiring. It can be stressful at times, and especially if it's a skill you're developing and learning. So I think it's okay to get some times where you're just like, I just need a bit of a break. Okay. My dick's sore. Okay. I just need to sit back, and I don't think you need to judge that too hard, right? Like if you just need a break, take a break. But if you're finding this is a consistent thing where you're going out and it feels like work. It feels like this huge drain on you, and you're only going out one night a week and then you're feeling super drained. I think a big part of this is finding some motivation. And, as Andy mentioned, like asking yourself why are you doing this? And then also finding ways to make it sustainable and fun. Like the whole reason I was able to get good at this and I stuck in it for as long as I have is because it's fun for me. It's motivating. I get a lot out of this. Number one, there's huge personal growth that I see. Number two, you're fucking goals and it's enjoyable. But number three, is that I was going out with a bunch of wings. I made it like a social event for me. So part of the reason, yes, I'm going out for the girls, but a huge part, honestly, I'd be going to the club because that's where my friends are. I'm hanging out with them. We're having a good time. We're sharing stories. We're winging each other. Like, as gay as this fucking sounds, some of my best nights out gaming was not pulling the fucking 10 where I had amazing sex. It was winging with a buddy and having like this hilarious story and this huge up and down and trying to deal with these girls and the other friends cock block it. Like, they're honestly my best times in game and the fun stories. So I think if you are that guy that is going out solo, you're finding it really difficult, you're getting burnt out, it feels like a lot of work, just take a step back, apply everything we said in the last question, but then just find some ways you can make this enjoyable, whether it's having some wings, whether it's, sitting in that interaction and actually thinking, okay, this is actually fun conversing with this girl. I don't have to be so in my head about what I'm doing next. I can just take some time to enjoy this. This is fun. There's a whole girl in front of me. So yeah, that would be my advice. Just find the joy in it a little bit.
To just quickly add to what you said, I think a lot of guys in the pickup community don't like going to clubs or like the super popping clubs, but they feel like they have to. And the good news is you can totally meet very attractive girls, the same quality and quantity, maybe even higher quality, at least when it comes to inner stuff, and not go to a club ever again in your life. I haven't been to a club in over a decade, right?
I've never been.
Yeah, if you like clubs, that's one thing. But I think a lot of guys don't like clubs. Like me personally, I hate clubs. I fucking hate it. You don't have to actually go to clubs or places you don't like. Like chill lounges. If I'm doing night game, that'll probably be my place. Like a place that's outdoors, that's chill. There's no cover. Everyone's hanging out. It's packed, but it's not too packed. There's no loud music. That's my ideal type of environment. I think it is for a lot of guys as well. Mike, what do you think?
I want to go. Yeah. So, burnout rate is very interesting. I think people have very different burnout rates. So some people can sustain it going out 7 nights a week and don't get burnout. And there are people that go out once a week and get burnout. So it'd be interesting to see what Larry has to say. Like, is he going out 4 or 5, 6 times a night, or is he going out 2 times a night? And how much, how many approaches is he doing? Right. For me, I went from a complete noob. Of course, I'm Asian, so I got to give numbers. I went from a complete noob to a dating coach in 2 years. 2 years, I only went out twice a week. I had a full-time engineering job. I went to the gym 3 times a week, and then I interned for another dating coach. So you can theoretically get very good just by going out twice a week if you're not fucking around and you're doing it correctly. So I think if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting results, something is wrong. Like, you should be progressively getting at least breakthroughs. So I would change that. Like Alex says, change your environment, have somebody audit you, record some of your interactions, or maybe your style and fashion is just off. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you're getting the same results, you got to change something. You're not auto-correcting. You're not really mixing it up, right?
Sure.
And also, like, I never drank when I went out. I took a green juice. I did some push-ups. So when I went out, I wasn't taxing my body. And I think that's really key to longevity, because I'm 41 and a lot of girls in the club think I'm, 28 or 32 or whatnot. So I think taking care of your body is huge when it comes to longevity. And also, how old is Ross Jeffries?
Well, chronologically, I'm 65, but
Okay.
we'll talk about the supplements.
Yeah, your brain is sharp, so whatever you're doing.
No, I would say my doctors have said I'm like cognitively, I'm 35, maybe 40.
Very
To
nice.
quickly piggyback off what you said,
I spend 10K a year. I'm sorry, I spend 10K a year easily on my naturopaths, and it's worth every penny. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, I probably spend more than that, honestly, on all the supplements and all the things I do, like stem cells. Just to quickly add to what you said, Mike, I think that quite often, or not quite often, but sometimes you get these situations where the people you go out with are not people who you legitimately have a good time with. Like it almost feels like a shotgun marriage sometimes. Two people who have nothing in common trying to pick up girls. And at least that was never the case for me. I would go out with people that I was legitimately friends with, and we would laugh, we would have a good time, we would joke around. It was like a fun experience. It wasn't just like, okay, we're there just a game. It was like at least 50% about also just like spending time together and having a good time. And also, I started off drinking when I started pickup. Or I mean, sorry, I was drinking when I first started pickup. And it was when I stopped drinking during pickup that I started learning a lot faster. That's really just went like from like this. So doing it sober, learning how to do it sober is going to be very beneficial. And then if you prefer, you can still go back to having a drink here and there. But if you can do it sober, that is important, I would say. Uh, does anyone have anything to add before I move on to the next one?
Let's move on, man. We need more questions.
Oh, we got a bunch. Okay, this is an interesting question. How would you manage relationship with girls after the pickup and date plus hookup? So the scenario is you go out, you pick up a girl, you hook up with her maybe a few times. What do you do afterwards?
I'm laughing because you guys will not believe my answer. You'll think I'm bullshitting, but I'm telling you I'm not. And this only works. So I got to give you a little hypnosis lesson. So there's something in hypnosis called somnambulist. Somnambulist is essentially a subject who will, once you get him in trance, are super suggestible. They'll take any suggestion, make it real. You can create, I would not do this. You can create alternate personalities. You can do all sorts of shit. But you don't need to get them. About 25 to 30% of the female population and of women I've dated, I'm not making this up, I can train them to orgasm just with the touch or the sound of my voice, and to make it so they're consistently thinking of pleasing me. So if you have that level of skill and that 20 to 30%, I'll apply that. But I think the other thing, if you can't do that, one of the really important things is to screen. And one of the things I look for, screen, and screen again. If that woman does not have nonviolent communication skills, if she has to yell at you and point her finger and call you names, that probably is not fixable. So a great deal of how to manage it is to know this is not relationship material, because they don't know how to communicate nonviolently. They can't emotionally self-regulate, or they bought into the whole feminism thing, and I'm out, like eject, which is why I'm just going to put it flat out there. I will not have sex with a potential partner for at least 6 to 8 weeks, because when the dick goes in, the super crazy comes out. That's the first thing. And the second thing, at my age, I don't want to get into it. At my age, there's certain technical things that need to occur, and that requires testing on both. I will not have a partner who will not get tested. So I on any level. So I require testing on both our parts and some other stuff.
Gotcha. Anyone else want to take a stab at it?
I will. Yeah.
Yeah, you go for it,
Do
Andy.
you want to
then
go?
I'll-
Yeah.
No, you go
I've
for
been
it.
with
You go
my
first.
I've been with my partner Emmy for about 6 years, and there's a girl that we've been dating together for over a year, and then we see other girls as well together on the side. So like, and relationships is something that I care very deeply about. It's something that I've spent a ridiculous amount of time and energy, like every day, with my girlfriend. Some things that can really clearly help is screen, like Ross said, for someone that I like to think someone that has a long-term mindset, like is willing to build. Something that Ross said before, I see them as my teammate, and I'm looking for someone else that wants to be on the same team as me, doesn't have like a combative mindset, like doesn't see men as the enemy, or doesn't see herself as a victim. So yeah, Ross, like, brother, maybe you feel the same, but if a woman is like into feminism, I'm like questioning that immediately. I'm like, what do you mean by feminism? And if she's like, well, I just think that women are beautiful and I want them to be happy, I'm like, okay, fine. Like, you're
That's
not a
fine.
feminist. You just, yeah. But if she's like, I think that men, and I'm just like, no, thank you. Like, not interested. So screening is a big part, intentionally building something that I like to do. And this is more for a long-term relationship. I don't know if this is what this guy is asking, or if he's,
I think
Like, I
that's
don't know
what
what
he's. I think that's what is being hinted at. Yeah.
Long term, okay. I like to do what I call like a weekly accountability check-in with my partner, with Imi, every single week. And what we will do is we will say, what are your goals? What are your ambitions? How are you making progress towards them? What did you accomplish last week? What are you going to do next week? I will do the same shit. And then we'll talk about the relationship and say, okay, how can we make the relationship 1% better? Something that was very important to both of us. We both had a lot of trauma when it comes to relationships. And, you know, her parents were divorced at a young age. Her brother tried to kill himself. Like a lot of messy stuff in her early childhood. Healing all of that and getting to a point where, like Ross said, non-violent communication, that was so unbelievably important to us. There's a book called Peaceful Parenting by a guy called Stefan Molyneux.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, dude. So things like libertarianism. There's another book called How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World.
Harry Brown read it in high school.
My man, dude, I'm getting a boner right now as we're talking, buddy. Like,
okay, that's a little too much.
That's a little too much. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm sorry. But the concept of like not arguing and not fighting. In the first year or two, we argued a lot. We just did. But we had this vision, both of us, that we could get to a point where we wouldn't fight anymore and we would just have peaceful communication. We would fucking express our needs and our desires and what we wanted. We wouldn't blame the other person. We wouldn't say, you need to do this for me. We'd say, no, if I want something, I'm going to get that for myself. If you're not able to give me something that I want, then we can break up or we can find it elsewhere. Like all of that shit took a long freaking time to build, very intentionally, but that stuff is possible. I think you just have to have some sort of vision of the future. And that's why, like, as I hear you speaking, Ross, like we're speaking the same language, brother. You're saying things like, I don't want drama.
Pause button. Think of it. If you don't write a book about this and make $1 million, where do you live? You got an accent. Where do you live?
Australia, mate.
I will fly down to Australia and kick you in the nards if you don't.
I wrote a book. I just charged $1
what
for
is
it.
the book
Yeah.
called?
It's called Play to Win. It's not a book, but it's a video course and an ebook.
No.
It's called Play to Win.
You write a book and create a course based on this whole idea of being your partner's accountability partner and doing all that. Create a course. You make millions. I'll be your marketing consultant and take a piece of the pie. I've been marketing for 30 years. I know how to do this, dude.
There we go. I get 10% for putting you guys in touch. So
all right.
No. You get a hug and a thank you.
A hug and a thank you. All right. Marcus, Mike, do you want to take a stab at it if you have anything to add?
Yeah, of course. I think when it comes to this idea of what to do after sex, everyone seems to fuck this up. There doesn't seem to be a big focus on this in the PUA community. And so as a result of that, whenever I see guys in my community start getting good in game, they start fucking a lot of girls, they fall into all the same traps, which is usually they'll fall in love with a girl they've met for 3 seconds. So they have sex with her. They'll become incredibly needy and they'll lose retention right away. So you have a lot of guys basically sleeping with the girl one time, never able to see them again. They don't know why. Or situation number 2 is they're thinking, yo, I'm enjoying this whole game thing. I'm fucking some girls. This is great. I don't want a relationship right now, but they don't know how to manage that dynamic with the girl. So when the girl kind of says like, are you seeing anyone else? The guy, oh, not really. Like, no. And the guy's like messaging this girl all the time. Maybe she wants to meet up 3 times a week. The guy's like, yeah, sure. The sex is good. Come around. And then they're in a situation where they're like, hey, Marcus, I've been seeing this girl for 3 weeks and she's asking me if I want to be in a relationship with her. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't want this. So huge problem. So what we've done is, or what I did is I created a relationship triangle is what I call it, right? So basically it goes through all the steps from as you have sex with that girl, what do you do? And just generally speaking, I'll explain it, is at first, the screening process should just be, do I want to fuck this girl? Okay. If she was on her knees begging for my dick, would I do it? And the answer is yes. Then you just set that frame. You just set it up as sexual. That's all it is. Then you ask yourself after that occasion, do I want to see her again? If the answer is yes, then you see her again. And you slowly build up the intensity of the relationship based on what you want. So you're setting that frame the entire time. And it should be a slow, gradual process. You should not be in a relationship with a girl after a month. You don't know enough about her, okay? You haven't set the right frames. You don't have a good dynamic. You haven't built up those relationship skills that you spoke about, Andy. So, yeah, it's got to be a slow process. You got to set a very casual frame at the beginning. You're going to have the girl chasing you. If you want it just to be sexual and that's it, you need to set those frames of expectations through your behaviors, not just through your words. You can't be the guy sitting there being like, I told her I just wanted it casual, but then I met up with her 4 times a week and bought her flowers and took her out to dinner. it's mixed signals, right? The girl is going to think it's something more. And then, yeah, you build that up over time. So this way, after 6 months, you end up with a girl where you can say, I know enough about her. I've seen her in different situations. I know what it looks like when we disagree. I know what it looks like when she's having a bad day. She is chasing. She wants this. If you think about it from like a negotiation point of view, right? You don't have a situation where you're there losing respect and begging her and wanting to be with her more than she wants to be with you. It needs to be somewhat equal, or her chasing. That's what I usually take guys through, is this relationship triangle that sets out different behaviors of the guys in a show, different expectations, what things to look for. And that way you can set up very healthy dynamics and relationships, whether it's casual, open, closed, exclusive, whatever you want it to be.
You said like 80 to 90% of what I was going to say, so I'll just add a quick thing. So a lot of people don't know about this. There's a community on Reddit called Dread Game. My old physical therapist told me about, and the whole premise is like how to game your wife, how to game your long-term girlfriend so she doesn't leave you. I think that whole premise is horribly flawed. You should not have to game your girlfriend or your wife, as long as the only thing you need to avoid is getting too complacent and like letting yourself go. Like you start off being like a confident, dominant man, then you become like a little bitch, you become a wimp. As long as that doesn't happen, you're good. You don't have to like keep doing stuff to keep attracting your girlfriend. She's already into you. I'll just point out 4 quick things that guys should watch out for when screening a girl for a relationship. These are the things I pay attention to. So number 1, any type of lying. If I catch a girl lying about something, like if she's like whatever, she's 10 minutes late and she lied about whatever. I don't care about that, but like any kind of substantial lies, you should avoid dating that girl, because one lie will lead to other lies. 2, one thing I'll look for is whether she has long-term friendships or not. So if the girl is just constantly like bouncing from friend to friend, she can't maintain a friendship for for more than a year, that's another red flag. That means there's something going on there. Another thing is that the girl's not jumping from job to job. If the girl's switching jobs every 6 months, that's another red flag. And probably by far the most important one is that she's not a victim. If you sense the girl has a victim mindset, I personally would 100% stay away. You'll never win. And whenever anything happens, she'll never take any accountability and will always blame it on you because she's a virtual victim. So if you're going to do one of these 4, avoid a girl who's a victim mindset, and of course lying as well. Does anyone have anything else to add before we move on to the next question?
And real quick, if she has car problems, women who have car problems, I guarantee there's 100% correlation. I'm getting laughs of recognition here. 100% correlation. If they're having car problems, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, screening for red flags super important. I think sometimes going to nightclubs is important, not because you're going to find your future wife there, is because you see enough girls where you can detect red flags. And I think a lot of guys do jump into relationships too fast. Sometimes I'll get a guy that'll sign up for a boot camp, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, I'm in a relationship. I'm going to have to cancel my boot camp. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is not going to be your future wife. Also, I do think that a lot of guys just focus on being really good on the first date and being good at closing on the first date, and they don't work on their late game stages, such as building a social circle, building a lifestyle, having interesting things to do. And I see this happen all the time where they're basically repeating first dates, and then the girls are like, okay, well, date number 2, we're doing the same thing. Date number 3, we're doing the same thing. So I think variety is a spice of life. You got to keep innovating. So if you're used to just inviting girls over on the first date, or you're used to same night closing, mix it up a little bit. Maybe do a daytime date. If you're always doing daytime dates, do a nighttime date, right? And I don't recommend taking girls on vacations all the time, but if you meet a girl that's solid, maybe, test out a low budget vacation. So I think whatever you're not doing, try something new. That way you're innovating, and the girl just realizes you're not just a pickup artist that's going out on the prowl every single night.
I'll just add to this. I was just gonna say, me and my girlfriend Maddie, we always joke around that we're like the most boring couple ever, because we go to the same 3 restaurants all the time. We just basically, when we hang out, we just cuddle or go for a walk or something like that, or play with the dogs, right? But our relationship is like stronger than ever, going on like 4 years now, 3.5. And I don't think you have to be like super like I just disagree with the premise of trying to impress your girlfriend. I will, like, for example, If it's like Valentine's Day or her birthday, I will get her a gift and stuff like that. But the goal isn't to like overly impress her. It's just something that I would do for someone that I really care about. So I'll just quickly add that. Yeah, what were we gonna say, Andy?
I was going to piggyback off what Mike said and say, dude, I find that a lot of guys want to do this stuff. Like they want to do the stuff that you're talking about, go have fun, go have an adventure. But it's almost like somewhere along the way, they've told themselves some rule that they're not allowed to do that. Like, I'm just here for getting laid. I'm just here for pickup. I have to go on a date and then I have to bounce out of 3 different locations and then go home. And that's all we're ever going to do forever. You're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. You know, you want to go out for ice cream, you want to go trampolining, you want to go talk to random strangers and high five them together, whatever the hell you want to do, you're allowed to do.
But Andy, the one caveat I think you will agree with, that's like after you're in the relationship, or at least after you guys have hooked up a few times, or the other exception is like if you're advanced and you're like already. But if you're like a beginner, I probably wouldn't recommend like doing like kind of outdoor dates. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. If you're a beginner, this is like after you're consistently closing.
Yeah.
What do you mean by out there date?
Like something that like going golfing or something like that. Something that's
don't be a sugar daddy. If you haven't had at least 30 closes, don't take girls.
I think you need to just ask like, what perception am I creating with this date? So like if I could go on a dinner date with a girl that has like fucking candles, if after that I'm bringing her home and we're having a gangbang, like with a couple of friends, right? Like you just need to think about what perception am I creating here? And for most guys, if they're taking girls on like dinner dates with candles and shit, most girls are going to think it's like a relationship type thing and that's where it's leading. So I think you just need to ask yourself, what am I creating in terms of perception with this date? Can I counterbalance it with other behaviors? And that's basically what you have to ask yourself. So yeah, you can do like fun dates, you can take it to golf, but for most guys, I agree with Alex, for beginners, I'd be really careful of having to do that because you need to balance it with other behaviors to show that it's not that serious that early if that's not what you want.
There's 2 dates I used to do. One is inviting the girl straight to my place for a bottle of wine. Number 2, going to a bar nearby. But I've actually cut out the second one. And now I'll take a girl who doesn't want to come straight over. I'll take her for a walk with my super cute Siberian Husky. And then when I build some comfort, pull her out for a drink. So you can keep it super simple, but that's just a preference thing because I don't like to drink.
Bro, having a dog
thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. You got bounce?
Later. Yep.
Okay. All right, buddy. Take care.
Oh, whoa. We got to talk. You got to make sure that, who bounced? Who just bounced out?
Squad in Casanova.
Okay. I thought Andy. I thought it was Lucy and Andy. No.
Not Andy. Andy's here. Are you guys
All
good
right.
to go for like another 20, 30 minutes? Does anyone else have
Sure, I
time?
can. I just need to check my phone for messages.
You're
So
good.
let me
You're good.
bow out.
Yeah,
bow
I feel
out.
like, look on the screen though. You can't see me. You can't see Markus.
Yeah, it's a long question here. Let me just ask the first one, and then I will take it off. Why are women, white knights, and a lot of SJWs in particular, so anti-pickup? Okay.
I'll be back, guys.
Yeah. So once again, the question is, why are women, white knights, and a lot of SJWs in particular so anti-pickup? My answer is that because they have a completely erroneous perception of pickup. So many girls think that pickup is manipulation, tricking a girl into sleeping with you. Every time I explain what pickup really is to a girl or anyone, everyone except like the most fucking feminist out there, man hating woman, understand like, oh, that sounds like a good thing. I thought it was, manipulation. I thought it was, gaslighting girls. So yeah, and they think it's dark triad shit. So it's just they don't have a problem with pickup in general. They have problem with what they think pickup is, and in their mind something unethical, something that's foul, something that involves like tricking a girl. So that's my answer. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, dude, I once had this argument with a blue-haired feminist in Australia that came up screaming at us as we were running a boot camp. And the one question I just asked her was, when you're out at a bar, when you're walking on the street, what do you think men are doing wrong, right? And so she listed a couple of those examples, Alex, like, oh, they pressure women, they don't understand, they trigger their internal trauma or some like buzzword and shit like that. And then I simply said, okay, well, if you had to talk to those men, what would you tell them? How would you correct it? And she went through a few things like, look, if a girl is showing signs of discomfort or whatever, like you should let her go and blah, blah. Like she went through a few lists like that. And I said, okay, if there was someone that could teach these men that, would you want them to do it? And you could see the moment that it kind of clicked for her, and she had this dissonance, and she's but that's basically how I explain it. Is there's a lot of girls who are going to complain about all these men, right? Now, what if there was someone that could teach them to be more socially aware, to have better interactions with the women, to understand how to give them a better experience, right, for the both of you? And I think at the end of the day, like, that's what we're doing, or at least what we're aiming to do. And so I think you're right. Like, the perception often is, they're using some neg to fucking bring down the girl's self-esteem. And
The
that's
word neg, oh my God, I
Sorry,
wish they
the
used
neg.
the word teasing instead of neg. Like, that word neg just got so
That's
horribly misinterpreted. And it's
hard.
like what everyone fucking associates with pickup. And then
Hard.
when girls say, like, yeah, well, what about neg? And I'm like, teasing, you mean, right? Because that's what you're doing. She's like, oh, teasing is great. I love it when guys tease me. Also, to be fair, there's a lot of men who complain about women. So the red pill. So it exists on the other side as well. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, basically, I'm going to reiterate what Marcus said. I've had this conversation with a few like women who identify as feminist, and I will say to them, okay, what do you want? Like Marcus said, like, how do you want men and women to interact? Like, what do you actually want? What do you believe? What do you want? And they'll say, well, I think that men should respect women. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. They're like, well, I think if a woman's uncomfortable, that a guy shouldn't force her to do something she doesn't want to do. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a big libertarian. I preach that with all of my coaching clients too, and my audience. Yeah, I agree. And like, I find that there are more overlaps on the Venn diagram between like a feminist and our community than differences. But I think people focus on the differences and obsess about them, and then tell this big giant story of like, pickup artists are out there fucking like, I don't know, psychologically traumatizing women and running fucking weird tricks on them and making them do stuff they don't want to do. And yeah, at least in my experience, that isn't, there are people like that out there, sure. But like, I don't think anyone here is like that. I think it's just,
I don't make anyone do what they don't want to do.
Because why would you want to? That's not fun.
I just expand the range of what it is that they want to do. I don't enforce behaviors. I evoke states of consciousness that are expanding. For me, it's interesting. Seduction is about two things. Yeah, it's about getting my ideas into the woman's mind, but it's also about expanding her mind to include my ideas. And that's the same with persuasion and influence as well. For sales, the way I teach sales, it's almost paradoxical, but in paradox, there's power. It's about expanding her mind to include your ideas and include you deep in her heart and her pussy, the part of her brain that really fantasizes, but it's also about sneaking your ideas in. So it's about both. And I would never, one of the things I've taught my students for over 30 years is do your very best to leave them better than you found them. If someone's under my influence, if someone's under my, I don't even want to say control, but control, they're also under my protection. Great power, as Spider-Man got it from his Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. So I think you could be an excellent seducer, pickup artist, Casanova, what have you. And you do even better if you're responsible and you protect people. And people will sense it. Women will sense it. Men will sense it, that you have power. And the power is also wrapped up and intertwined with compassion. Power and compassion go together, and no one will be able to put their finger on why they find you so attractive. They won't be able to, very few people will articulate it, but they'll all respond to it.
To add on to that, basically what you're saying there is, I think a lot of people have this mindset that sex and dating is like what you might call a zero-sum game, that one person takes and the other person has to lose. Like one person wins and there's a loser. I think maybe, I don't know, fucking 80% of the population believes that. Men and women believe that.
Yeah,
they're like, I have to get something from the man before he gets from me. And so you're thinking in terms of like getting. But if you can flip that and start telling yourself, I'm giving. I'm going to walk up to this woman and give her a good experience. I'm going to walk up to her and give her a good conversation. And obviously, if she doesn't want that, fine, you'll walk away, whatever. But like, if she wants to, I will give her a good experience. I will take her out for a date and we'll have a great date. If she wants to, I will take her back to my place and we'll make out and I'll give her a good experience and we'll have sex and we'll have fun. And, in the case of like Marcus and me, we'll do some BDSM shit. And, Alex, I know you've played around with that. I will give her this stuff if she wants me to. When you can switch it into that, then yeah, there isn't this idea of like, what if men are taking from women and women are taking from men? No, you're just going out there and seeing who wants to have a good time with you. And you can phrase it either as I'm going to give to the people that I talk to and that I hit on, or I'm going to share with the people that I hit on. Like, let's share a good time together. Let's share a good date together. Let's share some crazy, wild, kinky fucking sex and threesomes and I don't know what you're into, pee on each other or whatever the fuck you kinky bastards do. That's me projecting. I'll own that right there. But let's share in this stuff together rather than let me get. And I think when you think like that, there isn't this weird like air around pickup artistry because you're just like, I'm going out to share with some cool women and pee on them and they'll pee on me. Again, projecting, whatever.
As long as you're not. Yeah, go ahead.
I just like to have cats lick the peanut butter off my balls. No, that's awful. Cats' tongues are very sharp.
As long as you're not lying and manipulating to the girl, it's a mutually beneficial exchange, and that's the correct way to look at it. Is that if you guys have really good sex, if you guys want to dating, it should be beneficial for both of you. So yeah, there's no one who's like losing something. So here's just to quickly answer this question super fast. Is inviting women to a place for bottled wine and lying and manipulation? No. So there's a difference between white socially accepted lies and like substantial lies. And the litmus test is very simple. After you sleep with a girl, if you were to tell her that you lied about this, well, would her reaction be ha, or would it be negative? So if you think about it, you invite a girl to a place for a bottle of wine, you don't even drink, you wind up sleeping with her after you told her, when I invited you for a bottle of wine, I actually was already thinking about fucking you. You know what the girl's going to do? She's going to be like, yeah, no fucking shit. I figured that. Just tell me you're just basically being more socially, I guess, astute. Versus if it's something like, hey, you know how I told you that I'm single and I'm interested in a relationship? Well, actually, I have a wife, right? That would be a substantial lie, and the girl would get pissed off. So no, like white lies can be socially necessary sometimes. Because if you just say to a girl like, hey, come over and let's fuck, it's not as good as just being a little bit more low key about it. So
can I piggyback off this?
I'm sorry, the clueless guys out there. If a woman says, hey, tomorrow's my day off, can you come over and share a bottle of wine with me? Will you come over? She's saying she wants to fuck you guys. If she says, hey, you've never tasted my cooking, would you come over and I'll make us dinner? Guys, yeah, get the signals, man. I'm sorry, Andy. I just had to put that out there for some of the clueless.
Mate, I know you know this, and we all know this. How many times have you had a client who's like, I had this girl that was on my bed, and I didn't know if she was into me or not. And you're like, okay, if she's in your bed, she's into you. That's pretty much a rule right there. That
used to be me in college.
Bro, that was me. I've told this story so many times. Really short story. I had a woman literally model lingerie for me at the retail. I worked at like Target. She literally modeled lingerie for me, 2 different pairs of lingerie, asked me if I thought she was sexy and all of that. And then like a year later, I finally clicked that like, oh shit, this girl had a crush on me. And yeah, long story short. I do want to piggyback off this question. If you personally, basically, I think what this guy is trying to say is, I don't feel fully comfortable with saying, do you want to come back to my place for a bottle of wine? Okay, if that's like your ethics, if that's you personally, you don't want to say that because you personally feel uncomfortable doing that, you feel like it's lying for you, fine, don't. You can be honest. I'm what I call autistically honest. I literally just say, would you like to come back? Or you and I are going to meet with my girlfriend. We're going to see if we like each other. The first date, we're just going to get to know each other. The second date, if we all like each other, we're going to go back to our place and we're going to tie you up and do BDSM and all of that. Before I met her, when I was just single and I was doing all this stuff by myself, I would literally just say to women on a date, yo, I like you. Do you want to come back to my place and fool around a bit? And they'd go, what does that mean? And I was like, we'll make out. And if we like each other, we'll have sex. Like, you can be that honest if you want to. I agree with what Alex is saying, that you might want to be a little more socially, what would you call that, Alex? Like socially, yeah, do whatever you want to do. But like, if you're personally uncomfortable with saying that, don't say that. Like, we're not going to fucking tell you what you have to do. If you want to say, would you like to come back to my place for sexual coitus? If she likes you, she'll say yes. She might tell you that you're a bit crass, but she'll say yes. If she doesn't like you, she'll say no.
The only downside is you will lose the girls who have shame around sex, which is a good amount of girls, and the girls who are not super into you. Like, some girls will get turned off by being that direct, unless you were like super sexual leading up to the request.
Yes, but you will screen in some girls that like this level of honesty and autistic honesty.
My business partner, Destin, with the AI, will kill me for giving this for free instead of saying go to the AI. So I'm going to give it for free. Here's something that has never failed me, never, and rarely has failed my students. You leave it very vague. So you're making out and blah, 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 whatever. You say, you know what? why don't we go somewhere a little more quiet where we can relax and really enjoy each other more? Now, that is so vague. What does that mean, relax and enjoy each other more? That leaves the door open to anything. That could be watching Netflix. It could be sucking on each other's toes, shoving a Jell-O enema up your ass. It's so vague that there's no room for discomfort. And I'm telling you, there's something else a parallel. If the woman, I don't believe in last minute resistance, but if she says, no, this is going too fast, the answer I've always used and I've taught my students to say is, oh, fuck it. I gave you a freebie. Go to the AI and find out. Sorry for the plugging, man, but this is a business.
You're good. So this is a good question from the
Sorry,
community.
can I just add on to that?
Go ahead.
Do you mind?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's an easy question. Like, is that lying, manipulating? No. But I think the real question here is, what about the context behind this? And what happens when the girl says, oh, but as long as we don't have sex? I think that's where the real question comes in, because that comes up a lot. It's like, well, now do you say, no, we're not having sex, it's just a bottle of wine? I think that is where it draws a line.
I can answer that.
It's just bad game, right? Like, I think at that point, what you need to think is, okay, I agree with both of you here, which is, number one, we need to emotionally convey that we're going to have sex. And then you can verbally give her a way out by saying, okay, well, you've been talking, maybe you even talk about sex, like Andy said, you talk about your BDSM experience, whatever it might be. Then you say, all right, let's go back, have a bottle of wine. Or, as Ross said, like, let's go back and get comfortable, wherever it might be. But I think if the girl actually says, listen, like, I will go back to your place for that bottle of wine, but we're not having sex, then this is what you need to do. You give, again, another plausible deniability, which I usually tell the girl, like, I'm somewhat honest, but still give her a way out, which is, look, if you wanted to have sex with me right now, if you ripped your clothes off and said, fuck me, I probably wouldn't, right? I need to feel the chemistry a little bit more. So we need to go back. We need to get to know each other a little bit more.
The girl's like, oh, yeah, rips her clothes off. You're
yeah,
like,
well, this is the thing. The girl always says, yes, you would. And now she's chasing a little bit because she's like, no, I wouldn't fuck you. She's like, you would fuck me. And I'm like, maybe. And then what I usually tell them is like, look, for sex to be amazing for me, if I'm going to give you like fucking 15 orgasms, if you want me to tie you up and give you this amazing experience, I need to know you're into it, right? I need to know you want this. So if we go back and we have a bottle of wine and you're just not feeling into it, that's cool. We can hug. I can say goodbye. Like, that's totally fine. I don't want to have sex with someone that's like not into this. But if you are, we're going to have the best time you've ever fucking had. So this way, you're not lying. You're not being dishonest. You're being quite upfront, but you're also giving the girl a little bit of a way out. So if you are that guy that's sitting there wondering like, oh, should I just tell her we're not going to have sex? It's just a bottle of wine. No, you don't have to do that. You can give her like a little bit of plausible deniability there. Plus,
I have an answer to this, and it's rarely failed. If they say, I just want to let you know, I'm not going to sleep with you. I'm not going to have sex with you. My answer is, of course not. Let's only do what we both feel totally comfortable doing. Now, that again is so vague, and you're not promising to avoid anything. You're not saying you won't do anything, nor are you promising to do anything. It's so vague. Of course not. Let's only do what we both feel totally comfortable doing. Well, what does that mean? That can mean anything. That could range from holding hands and reading from the Book of Mormon to doing the most perverted, filthy things that you can imagine. When you're vague, so this is a rule of influence and persuasion in general, not just seduction. That's why I have this. Go to paulrossbook.com. You get a free copy. Anyway, whatever you can get a person in any context, sales, influence, persuasion, seduction, to imagine for themselves will be perceived by them as being their own thought or idea, and therefore they will not resist it. And a great way to do that is to be vague. So when she says, I'm not going to sleep with you, and I say, hey, of course not. Let's only do what we both feel totally comfortable doing. That's so vague. She then has to go into her imagination and imagine every possibility that she can. And it creates this rapport and suggestibility at the same time. It's a brilliant technique. It works with sales as well. If someone makes an objection like, I need more time to think it over, I'll say, of course you do. And I've got to ask, have you ever had the experience of taking a long time to think something over and it still turned out to be a horrible decision? And so I'm breaking their pattern completely. So being vague like that creates suggestibility, rapport, breaks their pattern, and now they're stepping into your world. Little sidetrack there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll give away like a quick advanced technique. Don't do this on every girl, and if you're a beginner, probably don't do this either. But on the girls who are like more like hourly sexual, the girls who just they have that kind of like I got tattoos and I whatever I fuck, but only with high. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. Here's what I'll do sometimes is I'll find a casual way to slip in there. It has to be very subtle that I have a porno, and then the girl will be like, "Oh, really?" And then half the time they ask to see it, and I just conveniently have it on my phone, and the other half the time they might be like, "Oh." I'd be like, "What? You're gonna ask me to see it?" Like I almost make fun of the idea, but then she's like, "Actually, yeah, I kind of want to see it." But again, this is only like when the girl's into you and with a certain type of girl, but that does work really, really well. If you can get a girl to watch you fuck another girl, she's gonna fuck you.
Yeah, sexual value is huge. Like if you can get the girl on understanding she's going to have an amazing time, it's going to get over a lot of her objections. So if she can see you, Alex, destroying another girl, then yeah, it's good to go.
It's just a video of me busting a nut in 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's just the worst sex ever. The girls are just like crying in the corner. Yeah.
Wait, that wrong video. Let me show you the other one, the AI edited one where it looks like I did a good job. This is a good question to, I guess, end it off on. And I think it's pretty general, and so we can talk about this a lot. After opening a set, what techniques do you use in the first 30 seconds to a minute to increase attraction investment from the girl? I'll let you guys kick this one off.
After opening a set, I don't think of women as sets. What techniques in the first 30 seconds to a minute to increase attraction investment from the girl? All right. I'm a funny guy. I'm playful. I like to be fun and playful. I don't like to be serious. I want to make a distinction. There's a distinction between being playful and funny and being a joke book and the party clown. If you're a joke book and the party clown, it gets old very quickly. It can get creepy very quickly. And above all else, the guy who's got a lot of confidence and sexual confidence is going to just come and take the girl away. But that said, getting a laugh in the very beginning. Laughter is both a lubricant and a glue. It's a lubricant because it takes all the anxiety, all the distrust, all the discomfort of meeting someone new, just allows you to lubricate away all of that and feel a connection and feel you're opening for a different kind of comfort. It's a glue because when we laugh, we strengthen this bond and we come together in a very special way. Now, that's actually a language pattern. If I did it slowly and hypnotically, it's a good language pattern. My first thing to do is to create a laugh and then own the laugh, to say something utterly stupid and dorky and then own it. So here's one thing I came up recently, I've been testing it, is I'll walk up to a random woman who's walking opposite to me. I see a lot of nurses because I live 1,000 feet from the emergency room door of a major hospital here in San Diego. I'll just walk right by them and say, "I am sorry I am so late." And they'll look at me and say, "Late for what?" I'll say, "Late being your solution to your search for the perfect guy." And they'll roll their eyes or they'll laugh. I'll say, "Okay, that was totally random." Now, this is the part that makes it work. I admit it. I say, "That was totally random. But when I saw you, I thought, if you don't say something to meet that woman, you'll kick yourself in the ass for the next 6 weeks." And then I introduce myself. That's as simple as it gets. I say something stupid. I own the fact that it's stupid. If you don't own the fact that it's stupid, I don't say I'm sorry, but I own the fact that it was stupid. That gets rapport. It's self-deprecating, and it makes her think, wow, this guy has balls and he doesn't take himself seriously. So that's what I would do. I would get a laugh in a strategic way. I would get a laugh in a way where I could play off it to create investment, to create curiosity about me, and to create a sense that she wants just a little bit more. Doesn't mean she's going to want to take her clothes off or even want to go out with me, but it buys that next 3 or 4 minutes of investment and conversation and focus on me. Remember, focus is the currency of seduction, of sales, of influence, and persuasion. And that's what I'm aiming at. So this is my answer. I go for a laugh without coming off as a clown. I say something stupid, retarded, but I own the retardation.
Okay, good answer. Andy, Marcus, Thoughts?
Yeah. I think in that first 30 seconds to a minute, basically I'm trying to do a couple of things. One is I want to show a high degree of confidence. So the way to do that is create a lot of tension and pressure on yourself and then be very calm under it. So what do I mean by that? You can go up and talk to a girl very safely and platonically, and you can be like, hey, excuse me, look, I wanted to come speak to you and blah, blah. But there's not much pressure and tension on yourself. So in the girl's mind, it doesn't actually require that much confidence to do it. Yet, if a girl's sitting in a cafe, you go over and approach, you're like, hey, excuse me, sorry, hey, 1 second. Everyone's looking at you, and then you look her in the eyes, you hold that tension, you speak really loud, you have open body language, and you're like, damn, I just had to come over here and meet you. That in the girl's mind, perception-wise, creates a lot of confidence. And if you have that level of confidence with women, essentially there's almost like an element of pre-selection there. She's going to be thinking, damn, this guy is probably good with women in a sense. That's number one. Number two is I want to create this, what I call like an emotional roller coaster within the girl. I wanted to feel emotion here. The really easy ones at the beginning is going to be curiosity. So whether that is, okay, the first question you ask her, whether it's going to be, okay, so where are you from? Don't ask her like that. Okay, ask it where it spikes a level of curiosity. So what I mean by that is I'd say, hang on, wait, what? Hang on, where are you from? If you ask it like that, the girl's going to think, hang on, why is he asking? What did he notice in me? Why is he suspicious here? What's going on? Now the girl's going to actually answer it, not just because it's like a social norm. Hey, where are you from? How's your day? But there's a reason you're asking. So for example, like again, if I was to say, hey, how's it going? No one has an emotional response to that. But if I say, yo, Andy, hey, dude, I got to know, how you doing, man? It's kind of like, oh, hang on, why is he asking that? What did he notice?
Andy just busted.
Yeah, another.
I literally, bro, yeah, you could tell. Hey, straight up, I'm seduced, Marcus. What do you want from me?
Yeah, let's go. And then number two, you can create curiosity on the other end. So if the girl asks you where you're from, you can open loop that shit. You can say, oh, look, it's a little bit complicated. And the girl's like, why? Or you say, hey, what do you do for work? You're like, I can't tell you. Now the goal, it sounds so stupid, but women are sometimes stupid, right? I've had girls chase me through a club asking me like what I do for work, or maybe I like laughed at her and then she came over and I'm like, no, it's nothing. And the girl will follow you around. So in the first 30 seconds to a minute, create a lot of tension, be comfortable in that tension. So speak really loud, open body language, be very calm. Number two, build a lot of curiosity. So the way you ask the question, use that tonality. The way you answer the questions, create curiosity. And then number three, I'll just add in here, is feel free to be a little bit disagreeable. So still on that emotional roller coaster, feel free to not just agree with the girl and validate her like crazy. That's important too at times, but mix it up. You can also be a little bit disagreeable there. So when she says where she's from, I'm from Italy, I'm from New York, you can just either act a little bit surprised or disappointed. Oh, New York. Oh, okay. She's like, why did you say it like that? No reason. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, these are the basic things I'm doing. After the minute, you'd think about, obviously throwing in some value, some DHVs, building some sexual tension, sexual DHVs, all that. But first 30 seconds to a minute is basically just subcoms and emotional roller coaster.
Marcus, you should do a video where you like really, really get the girl curious about your job. And then finally, when she's chasing you down, you're like, I'm a janitor.
Yeah, exactly. Just work
kind of videotape her reaction.
Yeah.
That'd
be awesome.
Andy?
Man, so what I'm hearing from both of you is like you both like to have fun. Like that's what's coming across to me. And you don't take it that seriously. And I know for a lot of like clients that will come to both of you and like your audience, they are in the stage of taking it very fucking seriously. And like if it feels like life or death, like please, Ross, please, Marcus, tell me the secrets. Otherwise I'll be a loser forever. And you're like, buddy, it's okay. You can just go up and be a fucking idiot. You can go up and have fun. In Marcus's case, you can answer with weird intonations like, oh, you're from New York. Oh, okay. Like you're basically giving yourself permission to have fun. And that's pretty much what I do as well. I will say my answer is probably a little more boring than the answers that they both gave. But my mindset is basically, what do I want? And I'm just going to be honest about that. As boring as that might be. So if I see a woman and she looks cute and adorable, I walk over and I'm like, yo, you are so fucking adorable. You don't understand how cute you are. And I'm just playing around with that and talking about that and talk about whatever. And I don't really care what we talk about. Then I ask for a phone number. If I see a woman and she's just, wearing high heels at night and she's wearing the sexiest red dress or something and she's got her makeup on, I just tell the truth. I'm looking at her and my body is going, holy crap, I want her. And I will walk over and just say, Jesus Christ, I want you. And she'll go like, what? And I'll be like, you're just so fucking sexy. Like, you did such a good job of dress. Like, holy crap, I can't help but tell you that you're sexy. And I just kind of run with that. So I feel like the theme between all three of our answers just then was we don't take it that seriously and we just have fun with it. Like, as you've done that.
Sorry. I've done the craziest stupid shit for a while. I pretended to be flamingly gay. I'd say, excuse me, princess. Oh my God, I love your shoes. Where did you get them? And we'd start.
That works like crazy, by the way.
I'd say,
no, I know. Yeah.
I'd say, all right, I got to go, but pee-pee to pee-pee hug. And then when I'd hug her, I'd say, oh my God, I feel something has changed. Hallelujah. I'm not gay anymore. And half the time they'd be pissed off. The other half, they would be laughing their asses off. So I've tried some crazy, I don't recommend that anymore.
No, I do. It works really well.
I don't recommend that, but you have to be willing to go out on a limb. You'd be shocked. Take the craziest shit that you think would never work and go do it 10 times. Just don't do it in the schoolyard, boys, but go give it a shot and see what happens and live a big life. Listen, I'd give it, if you walk away with nothing from what I've said, but this, there's basically the kind of people who let their internal dialogue be the architect of their life. And then there are people who let their courage and their willingness to experiment and their compassion for themselves and others. And those are the people, that's the only way you can be the architect of a big life, of a life that wins, of a life where you wake up every day and you think, you know what, I've got my challenges, I got my problems. I have my bipolar that I deal with every day. And this chick, Christine, who will not leave me alone. I know she's watching. Forget it. Give it up. Listen, yes, life has its challenges. I'm basically a Buddhist. Life has suffering in it. I get it. But when you get out of the internal dialogue and you're willing to let your own experiments in the world, my friend Gina says, be your own research project. When you're willing to, with a sense of joy, be your own research project, you will live a big life no matter what happens externally. I've had people, I'm a big person. There's no learning curve. You either like me or you don't. Because I'm a big person, I've been kicked out of places like, you insulted one of our customers. You can't come back. What did I say? I don't know, but you said something and we can't have people being offended. My whole attitude is if you're not offending at least one person a week, you're living small. You're living like a.
Oh, those are rookie numbers. You got to get up to at least 5 people a week.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take that. That's my actual quota, but I didn't want to brag. So I see Andy is like on the same wavelength as I am. And I've got Australia's too far, but come out to San Diego and we'll show your crew a good time.
The only thing you guys pretty much covered like 95% of what I would say, so I'm not gonna repeat the same thing. The only thing I will add that I don't believe was mentioned is, well, at least I'll just explain what works for me. Again, I'm not a cold approach expert. I think for that, go to the other guys on this panel. So I'm talking a little bit outside of what I teach, so I can only go off what really works for me and stuff that I've worked for other guys. But essentially, in the first 30 seconds, I'll try to find common ground with a girl. But the reason that this works is because I have a pretty masculine presence. I have strong eye contact, good tonality, I'm grounded. And so at that point, my issue isn't so much like sexual tension. It's just her not thinking like, oh my God, what this is so weird, is I want to just make her feel comfortable. So basically building comfort. And in Miami, everyone's from somewhere else. So I'll typically ask, where are you from? You sound like you're blah, blah, blah. Right. And usually I've guessed so many times, I've gotten actually pretty good with guessing. I think like I'm like 40, 50%. So if I guess correctly, the girl's like, oh my God, how did you know? And then I'll kind of downplay it like Markus was talking about, and be like, it's obvious. But if the girl's like, no, I'm from here, I'll try to build commonality with that. I'll be like, either if I've been there, I'll be like, oh, cool, I was actually in blah, blah, blah city. Love that place. Or if I've never been there, which is most countries, I'll just talk about things that I know from that country or like little traditions, stuff like that. If you're someone who's been in the game for a while, you pick up on these like little things, little sayings that they say in those countries. And like that stuff, like when you find commonality with a girl, it's like you've either been to her country or you know a bit about her country, especially if she's an immigrant. That goes a long way. And then it won't really be until like 2-3 minutes in when I really try to step up the sexual tension. But there's exceptions. Some girls, in the first 30 seconds, there's massive sexual tension. So it depends. But yeah, that's kind of my answer on that.
Do you guys agree with this statement that, and I'm making this very binary, I'm dividing this into two, I'm making this two extremes, but like there's some guys who don't have a strong masculine presence, and so a lot of what they're doing is trying to like build that sexual tension or build that masculine presence with a girl. And then there's other guys who, you know, Alex, I'd say we're all like this. You have a very masculine presence, and so it's almost like you're trying to, like you said, find common ground with her and be like, yo, I'm not just this hardcore fucking serious ultra hypersexual masculine guy. I do have a softer side. Is that a phrase that kind of clumsily, but do you get what I'm trying to hint at?
I think in this terms, and this is, I don't want to keep, I'm not going to bring up her name again because it's just going to make her think she has a chance, and she doesn't.
Christine, we love you. Subscribe to the channel.
Don't. She told me something. We were just sitting there and just having a bite to eat, and she said, you know, when you talk to me, I feel like I'm being cradled, and I'm in a hammock. And because I feel so safe, that's why I feel so turned on. And that is the thing, the idea that you can make a woman feel like she's being held with the strength of your masculine presence. In my case, my voice. She said, it's my voice is, I've trained my voice because I'm a hypnotist. Not everyone can do that with your voice, but if you can bring that masculine presence, I think there's polarity here. On the one hand, you're so strong, you make them feel safe. And when women feel held, they feel safe, they feel cradled, that unleashes the part of them that can be really turned on and really sexual. Yes, I understand sexual tension, absolutely right. You have to have that. But you can also paradoxically do it in a way where that woman feels safe. It's odd. It's really odd. We think so linear. Guys think either or, on, off. Squatting Casanova said he's Asian and he deals with a lot of people who think in a mathematical linear way. And that's not how women's emotions work. They can have emotions that seem to be contradictory simultaneously at the same time. This is why I have such a strong disagreement with Mystery. He says, first you build comfort, then you build that. And he's not getting, I respect Eric, but he's not getting that women are not linear with their emotions. They don't have them in stages necessarily. They can feel them simultaneously. I'm getting off topic, but
a girl could feel threatened, not significantly, mildly threatened, and also be turned on.
Yes.
You're 100% right about that. Actually, I want to ask you a quick question before we wrap up, and then we'll open up to the whole panel. How do you develop your voice? There's a lot of clients I have or people I see that are like, hey man, my voice is too high pitched. I don't sound masculine. What should I do? And it's kind of a meme at this point because my answer is like, have you tried TRT? But what are some natural things that you would recommend that you've done to improve your voice?
So my voice used to be, if you watch my earlier tapes from like 1995, it was kind of resonant, but it was up here. And then what happened is when I started, I'm not lowering it. This is my actual speaking voice. When I started doing breathing exercises and meditating, something happened with the way I was breathing. And you're breathing. And so you're breathing, and the position, oddly enough, of your neck in relation to your head, it controls the resonance of your voice. So that did it. And when I started learning hypnosis, I would just play audios of my mentor over and over and over. And my voice, as I repeated his languaging, just began to deepen. And so those are my ideas. I meditated, and through meditation, I learned to do breathing exercises. And he's nodding, he gets it. And then I studied hypnosis, and I had to learn to speak in such a way that as you listen to me and you really allow this voice, no, I'm not going to fuck with you guys. So there you go. That's
good. It was good. Do you guys have anything to add to that? Because this is a question that actually I didn't really have a great answer to besides like check your hormones. What do you think, Marcus or Andy? if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I think like you are cucked a little bit by your genetics here. Like you are going to have a natural range to your voice. And yeah, there are, let's say, some things you can work on or some things you can do. As you said, Alex, like if your hormones are fucked, that's obviously going to have an impact on your voice. But
If you go back to my videos from 2016, I sound like a totally different person. But yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, so I naturally have a deeper voice. And so a lot of guys ask, like, how do I get a voice like yours? And I'm like, bro, that's like me asking, how do I get tall like an NBA player sometimes, right? So there are steps you can take. I've done a few videos on tonality and like projecting your voice and things like that. And typical like speaking from your diaphragm. I had a singing instructor on that did a video with me to talk about this. But yeah, for the most part, I believe you are restricted by genetics here. So yeah, you can take some steps to try and prove it, but just have realistic expectations. You're not going to go from someone that has like a really high pitched voice to someone that's going to speak in a really low tone. You're just going to be able to project your voice a little bit more, maybe speak from a lower range that you have. But yeah, that's my advice.
Just to quickly double down, for some people, like if you have low testosterone, that can really make a big difference.
Yeah.
If you guys want a good laugh, search for the video "More Plates, More Dates" did on my voice. His commentary is hilarious. He's like, "Look at this guy beforehand. He sounds like I don't know," and then he's like, "Now he sounds like a fucking real man." It's pretty funny. I don't know. It was so long ago, but yeah, you get to see like, and I also did my own video on my voice transformation, and I don't abuse testosterone. I take like therapeutic doses that my doctor prescribes.
Yeah,
and
me too.
if you're someone who has like low T, like I did, that can really make a big difference. Like I would say it was an absolute game changer.
Yeah.
Andy, do you want to add anything?
I mean, Ross gave the best answer. Marcus gave the second best answer. Alex gave the third best answer. I'm fucking with you guys. You guys gave good answers. Maybe the only thing I'd add is speak slower. Like intentionally slow down your speech. That automatically makes you speak deeper and you breathe a little better. I myself, my voice goes very high pitched. I bet you if people watch this interview back, they'll see that I go high pitched when I get very excited and I speak a lot quicker. The voice goes up. Yeah, you do. Bro, that's like half of your fucking videos. Me too, brother. So if you can just slow down, it goes a little bit down.
And
that's why my voice sounds so different when I do like these podcasts or like I'm chatting and I'm thinking a bunch of things versus when I do my videos. Because when I do my videos or I talk to a girl, I consciously slow things down. I talk more deliberately. And that makes a huge difference in of itself. So you're 100% right about that.
Now, if I'm 30 minutes into the conversation, I can see she's fascinated. I can see she's a little turned on. Then here's a trick that will blow your mind. Begin to speak in rhythm with her breathing. So when you notice, you don't do this off the bat, but when you're in deep rapport and she's already showing signs of attraction and arousal, then and only then, if you begin to speak in time, the rhythm of her breathing, that is deeply entrancing. Then she's gone. You don't, noobs, don't do this in the beginning. Well, I would even wait 30, 40 minutes until you're having contact and she's giving you hard eye contact and the rest of the world has disappeared. You do that, that's it. I could read from the phone book at that point. All I have to do is pace my voice with the rhythm of her breathing. Advanced technique.
Good stuff. Let me just quickly mention to Super Chat, Killer Lineup. Thanks. We really appreciate donation. And what a great panel. Major respect to Ross. Charisma is a learned skill, but worst game on Earth's alpha. Father of two boys here would never have happened except for confidence gained from trial and error. Awesome. I really appreciate the Super Chat. So thanks, guys. Okay. So
I don't even know this stuff. I'm an old man.
Yeah, people can like donate money if they like your content on YouTube and stuff like that.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's close it out. Let's have you guys mention if you have any closing thoughts, and then where can people find you? Where can people go to support you? That kind of stuff. Let's start off with you, Ross.
First of all, I'm so pleased and surprised at the quality of everyone here in the panel. I've learned some stuff. I wrote down, I'm taking notes. I believe it was Markus who said, your future self is talking shit about yourself right now. Did you say that, Markus?
Andy. I think Andy said that.
Andy, that was a brilliant quote. I'm going to steal that. Andy, no disrespect to you, Markus. We've talked before. You're fantastic. Andy, a soul brother. We have to talk. We've been through, I have, the bipolar disorder. I've struggled with depression. At one point, I was writing suicide notes in my head, but I thought, why am I doing this? No one wants to hear what I have to say. Just do the deed. So I know what that's like. And we definitely have to have some conversations. You have a book in you. If there's one lesson I would like people to take away from what I've said, there's two. Stop worrying about the behaviors that you want. Going back to her place, getting a kiss, getting the phone number, irrelevant shit. Think what frames of mind, what states of consciousness, what emotional states do I want her in? How do I create focus, fascination, connection, arousal, rapidly, quickly, immediately? You do that through the use of your language and your intent and your vibe and your energy. And the second thing, equally important, is if you want to live a big life, don't let your internal dialogue decide what's possible for you. Let your experiments in the world with your courage and your sense of humor, your playfulness, and your compassion for yourself and others be what builds a huge life. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, sorry, you can't, because I don't talk to anyone unless you want to drop 50K and come see me for a weekend. The only way to talk to me, the advantage is you can talk to me forever. I am now immortal. Dustin, I know you're watching. My business partner is a technological genius. I swear he trained this thing to talk 85 to 90% like me. We're getting more and more users every day. And the more they talk to it, the smarter it gets. I don't pretend to know how it works. It's 7-day free trial. Just go to speedseduction.ai. And if you're interested in my sales stuff, just look me up on Amazon.
Yeah, the AI stuff is pretty cool. I would say that my AI program, which different from yours, has adopted like 90% of my humor. It's creepy and awesome at the same time that it cracks the kind of jokes that I would make but have never made before. So yeah, AI has come a long, long way. Just to piggyback off what you said, Marcus.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I think it was a great panel, great questions. If you want to find my stuff, Ultimate Man Project on YouTube, also Facebook, and our website is umpuniversity.com. So yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pleasure. Andy?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what Ross said. Hey, like he said, rather than letting your fears or your mindsets dictate your actions, let your courage speak for itself and like choose actions that are courageous. I call that playing to win rather than playing not to lose. A lot of people are so focused on rejection and what if she doesn't like me? What if something bad happens? That they start playing it safe. And here's my favorite analogy. If you want to never get rejected ever again, here's the secret. Don't ever talk to any woman ever again. But that doesn't sound like winning, does it? But that's what you said you wanted. You said you wanted to avoid rejection. You said you wanted to not feel the pain of rejection. So you can see how if you're in this avoiding mindset where you're playing not to lose or you're trying to play it safe, you don't get to win. You don't get to do those beautiful, courageous things and see what kind of man or human being that you can become. So go out there, be a little courageous. Don't be afraid to experiment like Ross said. Go out there, talk to some women, have a good time, play to win. And if you fuck up a few times, that's okay. If you look like an idiot sometimes, we're all idiots. I'm sitting here wearing a pink beanie. We're all idiots.
You rock that beanie, dude.
This is that masculine, fatherly energy that you said. Women see this and they're like, this guy's going to rock me, you know? So yeah, if people want to find my stuff, I'm Kill Your Inner Loser on YouTube. I got plenty of stuff on there about mindset and basically everything these guys cover. So
also, guys, check out Andy's website. That's how I first learned about him. He has... I thought that there was no website like mine out there, but Andy's is like mine and even potentially better in some ways. He has really good, detailed, super solid guides on like pretty much everything, honestly, from what I saw last time I looked at it. So definitely would highly recommend his website and obviously recommend everyone else. I don't really have too much to add. I think we covered a lot of good stuff. This is like this is I'll say this for my audience. I think that like people become so addicted to drama that when you do like a value panel where there's no drama, there's no bickering, there's no arguing, it's just talking about practical things that will improve your life. Like retention is low because people are just like so focused on drama on YouTube. But if you want to actually like look, if you want entertainment, watch all the drama. I watch it sometimes too. But if you want to actually learn, this is the kind of content you have to watch. Doesn't mean it has to be my channel. It just has to be valuable stuff from people who know what they're doing, where they honestly share what has worked for them or what has worked for their clients. Also, I'll just plug this. I'm doing a podcast, a debate this Friday. It's going to be really fucking epic. I've been organizing this for a month. It's going to be me and Jasmine Jafar on a team debating Sonny V. Frazo and Amy Dangerfield from Valuetainment. We're going to be talking about, is the red pill doing more harm than good? So
I want to debate, excuse me. I have an open challenge. This idiot, what is his name? Andrew Wilson, who's been ducking me. Andrew Wilson, you pussy. Let's do it. I'm sorry I stepped in.
Let me see if I could, dude. If you mentioned this 2 months ago, I could have 100% made it happen because I actually used to be good friends with him, and then we had a falling out. But let me see if I could maybe still potentially make it happen.
He's a chain smoking hypocrite bully pussy, and I want him.
I'll do my best to make that happen as well. What would you guys debate about? Just real quick.
A red pill and his hypocrisy. He says he's a born again Christian, but he chain smokes and defiles. I don't want to get into it. My Dustin.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. But yeah,
sorry,
guys,
Dustin.
I appreciate all you guys watching. I appreciate everyone who commented or donated money, and of course, I appreciate everyone on the panel. This is a really good discussion, and I'm glad everyone had a good time. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Can we talk off the air about the longevity stuff that we're doing?
Sure. Yeah. I'll end the stream and then we can